I'd like to call to order our regular city commission meeting for September 14th, 2020. Can we please have roll call?
Commissioner Drosky,
Here.
Commissioner Hudak,
Here.
Commissioner Preston,
Here.
Vice Mayor Parnes,
Here.
Mayor Gantz.
Here. Commissioner Hudak, would you like to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance?
It would be my honor, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could have our approval of our city commission meeting minutes for August 17, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay, our acknowledgement of our city board meeting minutes from our community appearance board meeting minutes of July 22nd, 2020.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Commissioner Preston, second by Vice Mayor Parnes. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay. Our approval of tonight's agenda for September 14th, 2020.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Before we do that, I just want to say that we are going to pull our certificate of recognition because the event was postponed over the weekend. So those certificates will go out after we actually have the event. Are you gentlemen okay with us striking that from our agenda?
Yes.
Yes.
Commissioner
Yes.
Preston? All right.
Yes.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay. Madam Clerk?
Yes, sir. For anyone who would like to speak during this meeting, if you have connected via Zoom video, simply hover your mouse over the video portion, and at the bottom, there is a participants tab. Click on the participants tab. On the right-hand side, there will be a small button at the bottom of the screen that says raise hand. You can connect that way, or if you have dialed in, simply dial *9 on your phone and you will be recognized by the last 3 digits of your phone number. All participants will be given 3 minutes to speak, with an additional minute as acknowledged by the mayor.
Okay. Item number 2 on the agenda is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting the millage rate to be levied by the city for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020 and ending September 30, 2021. Stating the percentage change by which the millage rate exceeds the rollback rate is computed pursuant to section 200.065 Florida statutes, providing for conflict, severability, and an effective date. And Mr. Mayor, if you could just recognize me so I can make some announcements pursuant to the statute.
Yes, please go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The item before you is the proposed operating millage rate for the fiscal year commencing October 1, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021. It proposes a millage rate of 6.0018, which is an increase of 6.01% over the rollback rate of 5.6618 mils. The total millage rate being proposed before you for this fiscal year is 6.3560. And just a reminder to the commission, the proposed operating millage before you tonight requires a 4/5 vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, is there anyone from the public who's written in for item number 2?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone there in the building that would like to speak on item number 2?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay, not seeing anyone from the public. Is there anyone online right now that would like to speak on this item? Ms. Bailey? Faye Bailey, you have your hand raised to speak on this item?
I'm sorry, I'm on line 6. I'm sorry, I'll lower my hand.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms.
Okay.
Massey, you have your hand raised?
That was a mistake, excuse me.
Okay. I don't see anyone else from the public. I'm going to go ahead and close it to the public then. Commissioner Drosky, you have your hand raised?
Yes, I actually do.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. I was remiss at the last meeting in thanking staff, for putting
this budget together. I mean, in these unprecedented times, and with the data constantly changing almost day to day with the revenue projections, it was very difficult, I know, for them to put this budget together. I know the priorities changed and shifted after our budget hearings that we had in the summertime. So it's a constantly moving target. So I know the city manager and his staff have been very diligent on this, and I want to thank them all for their hard work. I don't want to mention any names because as soon as I do, I forget one, and I don't want to leave somebody inadvertently out. What I also want to mention, which I find to be very interesting, is that in my questioning of other elected officials in Broward County, I think we have to be one of the most diligent and transparent cities around. I don't know of anybody that does more on their agenda that we do. I mean, not only do we have the budget workshops, we have the budget hearings. I mean, we're constantly talking about the budgets. We meet individually with the city manager and his team, you know, on our individual comments to it. So by the time that we get to tonight, I mean, there's literally, you know, tens and tens of hours and hundreds of hours that have been spent, you know, by us as the elected officials, you know, behind the scenes in the public working on this. And I happened to ask some of my colleagues from other cities, and I won't call out those cities, but they don't do half of what we do. You know, they don't do these, our budget workshops are for 3 nights for 4, you know, hours, you know, each night. Some cities don't have these budget workshops, and the ones that they do is maybe an hour or two too long for the entire thing, and that's it, and they're done. So when you start asking around to the other cities, we do a fantastic job, and we spend a lot of time on our budget. And I think we're probably one of the most transparent, if the not most transparent city in Broward County, and that's something to be very proud of. And so I want to thank the city manager and his team for all their hard work. And I'll be voting in the affirmative tonight. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent. Thank you. Anyone else from the commission with care to comment? Commissioner Drosky, Mr. Santucci, would you like to comment?
Yes, please, Mayor. Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor, City Commission, members of the public, and staff that are on tonight. Commissioner Drosky, thank you very much for those comments. You probably did just get me in trouble with 30 other city managers here in Broward County, but that's okay. We do what we can to the best of our ability to ensure that the budget process is as transparent as it can be. We can always do better. We strive to continue to do better every year. But with that, I would like to say that as the city attorney did mention, the millage rate for fiscal year 2021 is proposed, and if adopted tonight, will remain unchanged for fiscal year 21. This is even with significant revenue losses in our other revenue streams that are the non-ad valorem revenue streams. At the meeting held on September 3rd, I gave a presentation on the budget and went over in detail what the changes were, the reason for the expenditures that we are proposing. And I'm happy to go further into further detail if need be. But with that, I can just simply address any additional questions that there may be from the City Commission.
Thank you. Commission, we have any other comments? Questions for Mr. Santucci? All right, looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hudak, second from Vice Mayor Parnas. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 3 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting the final budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020 and ending September 30, 2021, providing for conflict, severability, and effective date.
Okay. Mr. Santucci, do you care to comment first?
No additional comments, Mayor.
Okay. Madam Clerk, is anyone from the public written in?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone in the facility like to speak in this item?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised at this moment. I'm going to go ahead and close it then to the public. Commission,
Motion to approve. Second.
we have a motion to approve by Commissioner Preston, seconded by Vice Mayor Parnas. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes?
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 4 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the budget for the Deerfield Beach Community Redevelopment Agency for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2020 and ending September 30th, 2021. Providing for funding through tax increment financing as provided for in Part 3, Chapter 163 Florida statutes, providing for severability and an effective date.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the building from the public that care to speak on this item?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay, is anyone written in?
No, sir.
Okay, and I don't see any hands being raised at this moment for this item. I am going to go ahead and close it to the public. Commission or Mr. Santucci, would you like to comment?
No, Mayor, you have seen this as the CRA board on 2 occasions already, and then once more before the city commission, so I have no additional comments at this time.
Okay. Commission,
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion by Commissioner Hudak, seconded by Vice Mayor Parnas. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to do a roll call on this. My apologies. Madam Clerk, would you please do a roll call?
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 5 is consideration of a plat application submitted by Bethesda Christian Center, Inc. to replat a 3.0095 acre site located at 641 Northeast 40th Street to restrict the site located within the I-1C institutional education and RS-4C one family detached zoning districts to 24,000 square feet of place of worship and 1 single family dwelling to be known as the Bethesda Christian Center plat. That's application number 20-P-226, providing for conflict, severability, and effective date.
Okay. Do we have a presentation on this?
Thank
No
you.
presentation at this time, sir.
Okay. There was no presentation?
No, I can speak to any questions if you'd like, though.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone from the public that care to comment on this item? Anyone that's written in for this, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Anyone who is in the building at this time to speak on this item?
No, Mayor, there's not. The person representing the applicant is here to answer any questions.
Excellent, thank you. Did they want to speak and have any comments to make before we discuss this amongst ourselves?
No, Mayor, she doesn't.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and close it to the public then. Commissioner Drosky, your hand's raised.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I don't know if Mr. Power is muted or he can hear me or not, but are there any outstanding comments or any concerns by planning, Mr. Power?
Thank you. So Eric Power, Director of Planning Development Services. So this is a plat application. The property is also going to have to rezone and provide a site plan application to the City Commission at a later date. We've met with the applicant for their plans for redevelopment. We don't believe there will be any development issues for this project. Planning with the county does take longer than our process for rezoning and for site plan. So for this reason, we brought this item to you now so that they can move forward with the county. And probably in the next couple of months, you'll have this item back to you at commission for approval of the site plan.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Well, we're looking for a motion.
To approve. Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Preston, seconded by Vice Mayor Parnas. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnes,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 6 is consideration of a major site plan application from Richard and Rice Construction Company, Inc. to construct an 8,779 square foot office and warehouse building on the property located at 1219 West Newport Center Drive in the PID Planned Industrial Zoning District. This is application number 18-PID2Z, providing for conflict, severability, and effective date.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any presentations for this item?
Mayor, thank you. For this item, we do have a PowerPoint. I know that the applicant representing this project is here as well. If I can, I'll turn it over to Eric Power.
Okay, Mr. Power.
Thank you. Yes, Christina Belinky of Danae Misco Backman is on the phone tonight. She has a brief presentation she'd like to provide you.
Okay.
And Ms. Belinky, before we get started, if you can confirm whether you're waiving quasi or not, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, we will waive quasi-judicial procedures. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. Christina Belenke here on behalf of the applicant, Richard and Rice Construction. Just a little bit of background. Richard and Rice is a general contractor construction company. They typically build foundations for homes and help manage projects and provide general counseling services. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So the property we're looking at today is located within the Newport Center, which is south of Southwest 10th Street and just west of I-95. This is the last vacant parcel within the Newport Center, and it's highlighted there for you in red. And if we can zoom in, or sorry, go to the next slide. This is a zoomed in version of the property. It's mostly pavement and some landscaping there now. And if we can go to the next slide, please. You can see the existing conditions a little bit better. It's used for parking essentially at this point in time, and not much else. So Richard and Rice Construction has been renting office space in Deerfield Beach for a number of years. They recently bought this last vacant parcel in the Newport Center and submitted the site plan application in order to construct their headquarters with corresponding office space for approximately 15 to 20 employees. And if we can go to the next slide, please. So this is an example, or this is the site plan that's being proposed. It is approximately 8,779 square feet of building, which is mostly office with a very small storage component as well. It's mostly for storage of tools and office items. The kind of heavier construction equipment is stored in another location, so none of that is going to be stored here. This does provide for adequate parking. It complies with all of the land development regulations and provides adequate circulation for emergency vehicles and trucks that will be, entering the property. And if we can go to the next slide, please. So we just have very simple, clean elevations to show you. These were unanimously approved by the Community Appearance Board approximately a year ago. And if we can go to the next slide, there's some additional elevations. And then the next slide, please. So this shows you the general pervious area on the site. It's actually about 40% of the land is still going to be green space and pervious area, which is fairly substantial in an industrial district in particular. And there is kind of shared drainage with one of the adjacent properties. So my client did take the extra step and has already secured their stormwater drainage permit approval from Broward County. And next slide, please. And this just shows you the landscaping on the site as well. So again, the site plan complies with the city's code. We're not asking for any variances this evening, and we've resolved all of the city staff comments. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, before we move forward with that, I think you have some disclosures to make.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Pursuant to the Deerfield Beach Code of Ethics Ordinance 2009-006, campaign contributions were made within the last 4 years to the following sitting commissioners. January 2017, Mayor Gantz, $1,000. January 2017, Vice Mayor Parnes, $1,000. August 2020, Vice Mayor Parnes, $1,000. And lastly, January 2017, Commissioner Todd Drosky, $1,000. And those are all from the law firm of Danae Miskell and Backman.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Drosky, you have your hand up?
I do. Thank you, Mayor. I was actually going to make that disclosure out loud, but I thank the clerk for beating me to the punch. I met with last week one of Ms. Bylinki's colleagues, Mr. Scott with the firm, and we went over this presentation and the project, and there's no variances. It meets with our code, so I don't have any further questions. I'll be voting in the affirmative. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Commissioner Preston.
Yes. My question is, she spoke of employees. How many employees are going to be at this building?
We estimate that there will be approximately 15 to 20 employees at the building.
Will that be new employees or existing employees?
Most of those will be existing. As I mentioned, this company currently rents office space elsewhere in the city of Deerfield Beach. So they purchased this property to make it their personal headquarters. So they will be relocated from their current office space.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who's written in to speak on this item?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone in the facility that would like to speak on this item?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay. I don't see any hands being raised, so I am going to close it to the public. Commission?
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion for Commissioner Preston, seconded by Vice Mayor Parnas. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes?
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnes,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Now at the public comment segment of tonight's meeting, persons addressing the commission shall state his or her name and address and may speak for 3 minutes unless extended for 1 additional minute. The mayor, as a reminder to those participating, this is the time now for public comment to speak on items that are not on the agenda. If you have public comment regarding items that are on the agenda, the time to do that is during the public comment segment of that agenda item, and no comment shall be made related to the personal life or personal qualities of any person, and no language which would offend persons of ordinary sensibility shall be permitted.
Thank you. Ms. Bailey, you have your hand raised. We'll go with you first.
Well, I wanted to talk about a release of a
I'm sorry, Ms. Bailey, if you could give us your full name and your address, please.
My full name is Faye Bailey. My address is 3228 West State Road 426, Oviedo, Florida, 32765.
Okay. Go right ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I want to address the commission about a release of a reverter on property that my husband and I purchased back in 2002 or 3. And at the time we were in the process of building a school. And in the process of building our school, he took sick and became stricken with cancer. And in the process, we were being approved. Our site plans had been approved. Everything that we were supposed to do had been approved. We had gotten the easement land from the city, and all of that was approved, and he passed away. And so in the process of him passing away, the project was on hold, and I had struggled for years just to pay the taxes on this property while trying to work with the city to actually develop the property. And I was never able to develop it with any support from the city. And so now I have a developer who wants to build on this property that I've had since my husband passed away and paying the taxes. And I want to be able to sell this property. And now the city is holding it up because of a reverter, of releasing a reverter on the property. And I'm asking the city to have some type of compassion toward, me holding this property and paying taxes on it for all these years. And now it's holding up my opportunity to sell this property and move forward with my life.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Bailey. If we could have at the end of public comment, we'll go ahead and see if we can try to address that, or at least have staff work with you on that. This is the first that I've been made aware of this. Is there anyone else from the public that has written in to comment at this time?
There is a hand raised, Mayor, but no,
All right,
no one
has
has
anyone
written
written in?
No, sir.
Okay, is there anyone in the chambers that'd like to speak?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay, Paul Webb, you have your hand raised?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Good. I just need your name and address for the record, please, sir.
Right. That's Paul Webb, 2736 Northeast 10th Street, Pompano Beach. I'm the realtor that represents the family that's trying to get the property with the reverter clause sorted. I just wanted to add that, Ms. Bailey bought this property back in 2005, and the city's intention was to have her develop it, and she tried to develop it. And as she said earlier, she was unable to do that. The clause that's in the deed actually says that the city gave her 3 years to develop it, or it reverted back to the city. That was 13 years ago. We're trying to close on the property now. We have a developer ready to buy it. And I'm sure the city attorney just needed some support from the city commission to allow her to sign that off. But, the Baileys have been paying the taxes on that for the last 13 years. And the property, it's absolutely worthless. It's a small sliver of land that was left over from the widening of Dixie Highway, when DOT widened Dixie Highway, and they actually gave it to the city of Deerfield Beach. If you took that property back, there's nothing you could do with it. You couldn't even put a bus bench on it. You don't have a road cut on Dixie Highway, and there's no access to the property. So it's really worthless. And that's why I hope and implore that you can, help Miss Bailey out and not let this deal fall over this small piece of property that if you did revert back to taking it, it would be worthless.
I'm going to ask you a question, if that's all right, then, Mr. Webb. If it's worthless, yet you have someone who wants to develop it.
Right. Ms. Bailey owns the 4 adjacent lots,
Okay.
and those lots are half of the block. So basically, she owns the 3 lots that are west of the lot that the city's wanting to take back. The piece that the city wants to take back is right on Dixie with no road cut. And if you looked at your city attorney can show you a survey, but if you look at the survey, it's a cannywampus piece of property that's just odd. The city offered it to Miss Bailey for $7,000 back in 2005, which that was a good price back then. But the real value comes in the fact that it can be joined with the other 4 lots. Kind of like an alley in a backyard that's not been paved, and people want to get it, put it back on the tax roll. The last thing you guys want to do is put this piece on your tax roll. I mean, take it off your tax roll. I'm sorry. They've been paying taxes for the last 15 years, and $600 a year is the taxes you've gained. It makes no sense to take it back now just because they didn't develop it 4 years, for the 4 years they had it.
And this parcel is imperative to your developing it?
It's imperative, yeah. The developer that
Okay.
wants that, they want that whole half of the block. And,
Thank
you
you,
know,
Mr.
with
Webb.
the setbacks and everything, there probably won't be anything built on it, but they need it for the whole site.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. I appreciate that. You've
Yes,
answered
sir.
our
Thank you.
question. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that care to speak? I'm going to go ahead and close it to the public then. Mr. City Attorney, can you give us, or city staff, can you give us some guidance on this? And
Mayor, I think we just learned about this today from the both individuals who spoke today. So this is very fresh for us. So we'll have to take a closer look at exactly what's going on here and get back with the commission and figure this out.
excellent, thank you. Okay. Not seeing anyone else on that to speak. I'm going to go ahead and close it to the public then. I hope Ms. Bailey and Mr. Webb understand that we'll have staff reach out to you to see how we can move forward with this to assist you. All right, Madam Clerk, or Madam Mr. City Attorney.
You are now at the consent portion of the agenda, Mr.
Okay.
Mayor. That is for items 7 through
17.
17. That's correct.
Okay. I'm going to pull item number 11, so you can speak on that, City Attorney, because I think technicality, you need to read it by name. Are there any pulls from the commission between items 7 and 17?
No.
No. Commissioner Drosky?
Just 17 for discussion purposes only.
Okay, we'll pull number 11 and 17. Is there anyone from the public who has written in or would like to speak on any item between item number 7 or 17 through 17?
No, sir.
Okay. Anyone in the chambers?
No, Mayor, there's not.
All right. I don't see any hands raised. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and close it to the public then for items 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. We're looking for a motion to approve all or disapprove at once.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Vice Mayor Parnas, second by Commissioner Hudak. All in, we do roll call on that.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes?
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 11 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the award of invitation to bid number 20-50-IG for capital equipment financing to JP Morgan Chase Bank NA, authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with JP Morgan Chase Bank NA, providing for conflict severability codification and an effective date. And this is first reading.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public who'd care to comment on this item? Madam Clerk, anyone who's written in?
No, sir.
All right, anyone in the chambers?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised. We're going to go ahead and close it to the public then. Commission. Item number 11.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion from Commissioner or Vice Mayor Parnas,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hudak. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Item 17.
Number 17 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving an interlocal agreement with Broward County for coronavirus aid relief and Economic Security Act funding, authorizing the mayor and city manager to execute the interlocal agreement, providing for severability and an effective date.
Commissioner Drosky, you have your hand raised?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. So the reason I pulled this particular item just for discussion purposes is to expand a little bit on this particular item. This isn't your typical consent agenda item. I think it needs a little bit of explanation for this interlocal agreement that we're being asked to approve tonight. because I just want my colleagues and the public to understand the importance and where we got to this particular situation, because the CARES Act, as we all know, did not give, funding to municipalities such as ourselves, because it was with those jurisdictions with 500,000 or more. So therefore, we fell under the umbrella of Broward County, as well as 12 other counties that were in the same situation: Dade, Hillsborough, Duval. And there were other ones in the state that had those that met that threshold of population. And so very few of those counties shared their CARES Act funding with the local municipalities. Dade County did to a very small extent.
No.
And I mean very small extent. Hello. But in Broward County, the Broward League of Cities put together a task force to lobby our county commission. Our county received $340 million from the federal government as its CARES Act allotment. And through the Broward League of Cities task force, ultimately the cities were able to have the county set aside 30% or $102 million to share in certain buckets. And I know I've said it before at other commission meetings, and I'll say it again tonight. I was on that task force, but it just wasn't me. It was a bunch of us that was on there from other cities, and it was a total group effort that was spent, many hours. I mean, just as many hours as the budget lobbying the county. I mean, because these are big dollars that we're talking about. So I'm going to read off the names of my colleagues because I think they deserve a shout out here in the county for what we were able to accomplish, because I'm not aware anywhere else in the state where municipalities able to get these kinds of dollars in other locations of the state. I mean, this will help narrow our budget deficit. It's not the cure all. It's not going to, bridge the gap entirely, but it is a significant step in the right direction to help narrow our gap. I know that at a future commission meeting, the city manager is going to be talking about that, and what the numbers are. But this is definitely a step in the right direction. So the chair of that committee, the task force, was actually Mayor Josh Levy from Hollywood. And my other colleagues were Mayor Rex Harden from Pompano, Mayor Lori Llewellyn from Dania Beach, Mayor Greg Ross from Cooper City, Mayor Mike Ryan from Sunrise, Mayor Ken Thurston from Lauderhill, Mayor Anna Ziotti from North Lauderdale, Commissioner Felicia Brunson from West Park, and then myself. And then as you listen to that list, there were a lot of mayors on that list. So for Deerfield Beach to get as your representative to be appointed to that committee, and me not to be a mayor, I think speaks volumes of where Deerfield Beach has come in this particular process, that we are a player in the county. And I want to thank the Broward League and our county commissioners for recognizing that. In addition to that, I mean, I also have to thank Mary Lou Tai and Sally Cochrane from the Broward League of Cities. They were very instrumental in coordinating meetings with all 9 county commissioners that we spoke to, not only individually before and after county commission meetings, and then also Tracy Caleri, who's a commissioner from Hollywood and the Broward League of Cities president. And last but not least is Adam Reichbach. He's the assistant city manager for Hollywood. And he was part of the Broward County City Managers Association that we teamed with to come up with these buckets as to how the money was going to be spent. Of the $102 million, they are grouped into 4 separate buckets and in different categories that the cities are able to put in reimbursements or expenditures for their particular allotment. I believe our allotment, the city of Deerfield Beach, comes to roughly $4 million out of those funds. So this is something that is quite monumental. It was a lot of hard work, and I wanted to take the time not to brag about it, but to really thank my fellow elected officials throughout Broward County for making such a hard concerted effort on this and bringing these dollars to the cities, because we are the front line on COVID. We are the ones that face this head on. And so I'm glad that our commission and that the county commission rather was able to see that and allocate those dollars. So with that, I'll be voting in the affirmative, but I just wanted to give a little more background to this item that may not be apparent from the backup.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. Appreciate that. City Manager, do you want to speak? And then Commissioner Hudak?
Yes, Mayor, just two comments that I have. One, that the draft, this is a draft ILA, and we believe that it's substantially in its final form, but there may be a tweak here and there between the county and the rest of the municipalities from now until over the next couple of days. But I do believe that this is substantially in its final form at this point. However, it is before you tonight, so that once it is in its final form, we can go ahead and get it executed and move forward swiftly. The other point I wanted to make about the funding is that the $4.2 million that has been allocated to the city of Deerfield Beach is not money in our pocket. This is the total reimbursable allocation that the city may receive. And as Commissioner Drosky talked about, these various buckets of information or buckets of reimbursable expenses, there's pot of money in each one of those buckets that if we don't spend, if we need more money in a particular bucket over the other, we can certainly move that around. There's a mechanism in the ILA for us to request that to the county. But I think what's important to just make sure that the City Commission understands is that this does not mean that we're getting $4.2 million in our pocket. These are for expenses that, one, were related to COVID. Two, were expenses incurred during the time frame of March 1st through December 10th is our deadline. And three, were not expenses previously budgeted in the FY21 fiscal year. So we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that we reimburse for all of our COVID related expenses that we obviously could not foresee in the fiscal year 20 budget. This includes things like public safety payroll expenses, PPE expenses, the additional cleanings that we've had to do in all of our public places, the costs associated with the food distribution sites. Those are the sorts of expenses that we'll be reimbursed on. But I do want to just make sure that the expectation is well known that this does not mean that we have $4.2 million that will be going into the city's coffers to make up for revenue deficits. In fact, the money, it's very clear in the ILA and through the federal government legislation that this money cannot be used to make up for revenue deficits.
Thank you, Mr. Santucci. Commissioner Hudak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to echo my appreciation to Commissioner Drosky and all of the other task members. This is local government at work. This is why we get elected. It's not just to rattle the sword. It's also to develop relationships with the decision makers. And this is something that especially Commissioner Drosky has made it, his mantra is he has gone out and has made these relationships and has brought Deerfield Beach, to the forefront, along with the other commissioners as well. And, the citizens, this is the part of the position that they don't see. The hours that we put in to develop the relationships, to make sure that the city of Deerfield Beach is well represented, whether it's in the county or at the state level. So I just wanted to personally, extend my thank you to Commissioner Drosky and all of the other commissioners for what they do. Commissioner Preston, getting us the COVID testing, all of the things that the Vice Mayor has done, and what the mayor has done for the last 9 years for the city. A lot of people do not see those things. If it wasn't for the mayor and Commissioner Drosky, we would probably have I-95 cutting through the middle of our city by now. So I think it's very important just to point out the importance of local policies and local politics and how we actually can benefit the citizens of Deerfield Beach. And it's a lot of stuff that's done, in just building up relations. And that's all I wanted to mention.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And thank you for all those comments. Anyone from the public care to comment on this item? Is anyone written in, Madam Clerk?
No, sir.
Okay, anyone in the chambers?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay. I don't see anyone's hands up at this moment. I'll close it to the public. Commission and Commissioner Drosky, I do want to thank you for your hard work with the League of Cities. I know you're well respected over there and you're doing some great stuff with them. And I greatly appreciate something that goes, certainly as our representative, this goes outside of what your normal duties are. And it's a lot of hours put in, and I greatly appreciate it as we all do. Commission, we're looking for a motion on this item.
Motion to approve.
Motion from Vice Mayor Parnas.
Second?
Second by Commissioner Drosky. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes?
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 18 is a presentation by Sustainable Management providing an update on the Siemens project progress.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wanted to brief the commission on the status of the Siemens Energy Performance contract and where we are with the construction on that project. And I have both the Director of Sustainable Management and I have him available to give a presentation on that. So Mr. Gressick and Mrs. Silverstone as well.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Mr. City Manager. Chad Gressick, Director of Sustainable Management. And thank you for the opportunity to give you this update. Just by way of background, a little over a year ago, the City Commission approved this contract with Siemens to make a variety of performance measures, enhancements to city facilities. And we have staff tonight available to do a presentation. We also have representatives from Siemens who will be available should you have any questions at the end of the presentation. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Hillary Silverstone, who has been absolutely phenomenal on this project in light of all the challenges that we faced. She continues to work tirelessly to keep this project on task and on target. So with that, I'd like to turn it over to Mrs. Silverstone. Thank you.
Thanks, Chad. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. My name is Hillary Silverstone. I'm the Sustainability Coordinator here with the City of Deerfield Beach, and tonight I'm here to present you an update on the progress of the Siemens project. Next slide. I'm going to go over some project highlights, the current timeline, the facility improvement measure status, and some current savings that we are already seeing, as well as next steps for moving forward. Next slide. This is a brief video that we'd like to show you highlighting some of the achievements to date. Heather, you can go ahead and play that. So as you can see, we've been pretty hard at work here in the city over the last year, getting a lot done. Heather, you can go to the next slide. Just a quick overview on some highlights before I dig in. I just wanted to let all of you know that most of the improvement measure installations have been completed. There are a few outstanding items, which I'll talk about in just a minute. We are currently on budget. We have seen some material cost reduction, which has benefited us, and Just like any other construction project, we have seen some unexpected costs come up that either we have been able to absorb or we have been able to work with Siemens and have them step in and cover those for us. Also, we are actually already accruing savings, which I mentioned, and I will go over in more detail in just a minute. And we have confirmed that although we are seeing some delays in the project, Siemens will not be charging us for any additional general management, project management costs through the delay. Heather, next slide. So as you know, this has been quite a long process. We started with procurement back in 2017. We went through the investment grade audit phase starting in July and wrapping that up last spring. And then finally, we moved through the contract approval process last August. Since then, we have been hard at work through implementation. And although the projects were expected to conclude in the next few weeks, we do have a few that will be running over, but for the most part, we will hit that deadline. Next slide. So again, as you can see here, most of our projects are wrapping up. We do have a few projects that have fallen behind schedule, which you can see, and I will go over now. Next slide. We have two projects which aren't quite done, but should be wrapping up in the next month or so. That's the controls, the building automation project, and the AC installations. The controls project, the installation has been completed in all but one building, and we are focusing now on head-end programming. Hopefully we'll be able to wrap that up in the next few weeks to a month. And Siemens has installed all but 3 contracted AC units for a total of just under 50 units throughout the city, several facilities impacted. Those units are on schedule to be installed over the next couple of weeks. Next slide. Two projects that are more significantly delayed are the solar project and the CNG fueling station. Both projects have seen several delays due to COVID-19, which I will touch on in just a minute. Utility coordination with TECO and FPL, weather, which is an obvious one in Florida, and unfortunately permitting. The solar array on Fire Station 102 is expected to be complete in November, and the CNG fill station is expected to be complete in December. Next slide. I'd like to briefly go over some of the impacts that we've seen due to COVID-19. The first one, when the pandemic was first declared, we did issue a stop work order for Siemens. That lasted about a month while we determined the best and safest way to continue work in the city. Unfortunately, COVID-19 has also caused some challenges with staff availability on both sides for the city of Deerfield Beach and for Siemens. We've seen this across the board, but definitely has had an impact on this project. On a less local, a little bit broader scale, we have had to work through some state travel restrictions. We did have some subcontractors that had workers, or the companies were located out of state and were not able to travel into Florida for a time period without having to quarantine, which was not optimal. Additionally, we've seen some challenges with equipment availability. Some of the equipment was manufactured internationally or had to be rerouted because of medical facilities that had critical needs. And this was something that we saw widely with our AC equipment. It was on, we'd have equipment scheduled to be installed one week, and that week came up and it had to be sent to a hospital instead, because obviously that's a very important location to get AC running at. Next slide. We've worked hard to mitigate the impacts of COVID-19 to try to continue with project progress as best as we could. Following federal, state, and local regulations, we continued with outdoor work. When we did have that stop work order, the outdoor work could continue. And when possible, we did continue also with work in unoccupied buildings, essentially just trying to limit contact with Siemens or subcontractor employees and city employees. We also worked with the city attorney to develop a COVID acknowledgement for workers and subcontractors. And now moving forward, we are continuing with installations for the most part at a normal pace. We do have all workers go through daily temperature checks and the COVID screenings, just like all employees do entering buildings. These delays have had some impacts. Most notably, we did have to make an adjustment to our current CNG purchasing agreement with Clean and Green. We had to extend that by a few months to allow for our trucks to still purchase CNG while our station was finishing up with construction. In addition, Siemens also declared a force majeure, which means that any delay related costs either party incurs would be absorbed. So for us, that would be any staff project management time. And for Siemens, that's any of those additional project management costs that I mentioned earlier. Obviously, as work continues, there are some impacts on employees, area access, AC, things like that, but fairly limited. And finally, on a brighter note, we have been able to accrue additional construction savings, which is something that's on top of the savings guarantee. Siemens actually doesn't guarantee any savings during the construction portion of this project, and I will talk about that in just a minute, but because there are a few extra months of construction, we have a few extra months of savings that we weren't expecting to see. Next slide. Speaking of savings, this table shows our total usage and cost of electricity from October through August of each fiscal year for the specific facilities impacted by the Siemens project. So far, looking at this year in comparison to last year, we've actually seen a drop in about $120,000 just from electricity. This graph or this chart does not take into account any capital savings or any water savings or operational savings that we're seeing from the project through this construction phase. Next slide. This graph demonstrates the trend in electricity costs for the impacted facilities from 2017 to now. The red line on the left shows approximately when implementation first began, when we first started getting these improvement measures installed. The green line, which is mostly on the bottom, represents this year, the costs this year in fiscal year 20. So you can clearly see that there is a reduction in electricity costs once the project gets started being implemented. I do want to note that there's a significant drop in May, which I would love to claim as Siemens savings, but some of that is due to a rate discount that FPL gave to all customers due to COVID and fuel cost decreases. So we can't claim all of the savings to this graph, but it's also a reminder that this project doesn't operate in a vacuum, and there may be savings that we see moving forward that aren't necessarily associated with the project, but benefit us nonetheless. And we continue we look forward to continuing to track these numbers and seeing even more reductions as the years go by. Next slide. As we work to wrap this project up, we look to complete construction in December for all FIMs and complete our Siemens performance verifications that are required for the savings guarantee. The guarantee period will now begin in January of 2021, barring any unforeseen circumstances. Hopefully we have a fairly dry rest of the hurricane season here, knock on wood. And then continuing forward for 17 years, we will have a measurement and verification process through our guarantee period. Next slide. And with that, I will take any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Hudak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Great job, Hillary. Just a quick question with regards to the FPL rate drop for May. Was that just a 1 month thing? Because it went down and then came right back up.
Yeah, it was. Typically, FPL will stretch some of their fuel cost reductions over a period of a year, but because of a lot of the hardships that people were seeing in May due to COVID-19, FPL made the decision to apply all of that in 1 month.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, anyone else? Commissioner Preston?
Yes, I would just like to know as from sustainable management that as this Seaman project is in progress and ongoing, have there been any setbacks that was not anticipated? And overall, are you satisfied with where we are?
You mean other than COVID?
We've had quite a few setbacks, all things that have been we've been able to mitigate. As I mentioned, obviously the biggest one being a global pandemic. Weather has been an issue. We had that hurricane scare a little while back that threw us off a little bit. We were just getting ready to start some construction on something and it had to get moved around a little bit. But more or less, we've been able to mitigate any issues that we have identified and overcome them and move past them. So anything that we've come across, it's been manageable. And so yes, ultimately we have been satisfied with the process. It's been a very long process, and we are ready for it to wrap up and start seeing the full benefit of this project. But ultimately, we're very happy with it. I guess I'm speaking from my personal experience. I'm very happy with it.
Chad, did you want to comment?
No, I would echo Mrs. Silverstone's thoughts and also add that, and Hillary and I were talking about this earlier today, that when this project first kicked off, we all huddled in a room with city staff as well as Seaman staff, and we had a project kickoff. And one of the parts of the exercise was to identify potential challenges. And I can assure you that not one person in that room indicated that a global pandemic was something that we would anticipate for this project. So with all things considered, I think we've done a phenomenal job. And I think Siemens has absolutely been the partner that we anticipated them to be. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Chad. We hope next time you guys will be able to have the foresight to predict these types of things. Is there anyone from the public who care to comment on this item? I don't see anyone from the public. Is there anyone written in?
No, sir.
And close it to the public. I will say this. I want to thank you, staff, for putting this together. We're already seeing the benefits. This is a tremendous accomplishment. You should be very, very proud of this. This is the kind of thing that you want to see your cities doing. The fact that we're moving it forward. I can tell you this, we had people trying to criticize, saying it was a bad thing to do. I don't hear them speaking up now, and I doubt they would, because they would look foolish. But I will say that it's the kind of thing that if we didn't do it, we certainly would be hearing from people to tell us, why aren't we doing it? So it's a great move, and we really appreciate your hard work on it. And I like the fact that we're already getting benefits from it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 19 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting the City Commission regular meeting schedule for fiscal year 2020-2021, providing an effective date.
Commissioner Hudak?
Yes, I noticed that, I believe it was October 3rd is a commission meeting. I will be in New York on October 3rd. So I propose that we move that meeting to the following week. I will be in New York from, November 3rd. So I'll be in New York from October 29th through to October 5th. So if we can adjust the meeting to accommodate that schedule, it would be appreciated.
We have this moved from November 4th is what I see on the calendar. Is that correct, Mr. Hudak? What would you, Commissioner?
I am in New York from October 29th through November 5th.
5th. Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is there anyone from the public who'd care to comment on this item? Not seeing any. I'm going to close it to the public. Commission. We're looking to make that adjustment for Commissioner Hudak? Or would you like to make it as a motion, Commissioner Hudak?
I definitely have no problems with making it as a motion. I would make a motion to move the Wednesday, November 4th, 2020 commission meeting to Tuesday, November 10th, 2020.
Okay. And the rest of the calendar is all right?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. Staff, have we made sure that this doesn't interfere with any religious holidays?
Mayor, yes, we've had Ms. Gilliard take a look at that for the Jewish holidays, as well as you can see, elections as well. The one question that I did have, Ms. Gilliard, did we have a meeting scheduled for the 17th that same month?
Are you referring to November?
Correct.
So for the months of November, December, and January, we typically have one meeting for the month as approved by the City Commission. So this calendar is based on what we've done previously, but the only difference is for January, we do have 2 meetings outlined.
Okay, so the one meeting in November would take place on the 10th rather than the 3rd, or whatever.
If he wants it, it can be on the 10th or the 17th, either one. And just keeping in mind that we also have CRA on that day as well.
Okay, thank you. I did just want to point that out to the commission.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner, you still want to move forward with that motion?
I would, yes.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Preston. Before we do, I see Vice Mayor Parnas. My apologies. Go ahead.
That's okay. I was going to second his motion.
Okay. We have one by Commissioner Preston. Appreciate it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 20 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, adopting the amended Parks and Recreation Schedule of Fees and Charges, providing for an effective date.
Okay. Mr. Santucci?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. We've had staff to analyze our fees and rate structures for several of our fees throughout the Parks and Recreation system. What sparked this was the discussions that we had during the budget meetings related to the pier entry fees and raising the cost of admission for non-residents to $2. In addition to that, we've had staff analyzing our rate structures, comparing them to other cities, and looking at how we have performed since the last time we've done a rate structure change. And generally what we found is that in some cases, we've priced ourselves out of the market. And not out of the market, but we just don't have this, we're a little bit off with supply and demand, I'll put it that way. So Ms. Warren has a presentation here to go over with you, and you'll see here where we've attempted to make adjustments that we believe will not only benefit our residents, but benefit the city as well. Additionally, one of the big changes on the rate schedule is something that the City Commission had talked about previously, and Ms. Warren will be showing this as well, but I do want to bring it up, that the commission had asked us to look at a rental of the pier on a very limited basis. And so we've put that in here as well. And so without further ado, I'll go hand it over to our Assistant Director of Parks and Recreation, Ms. Warren.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Commission. Heather is going to pull up my presentation here. All right, as you know, we're going to go over an amended Parks and Recreation fee schedule, and I'm going to go over some of the details of the fees and why we are either proposing an increase, decrease, or an addition of a fee that may have not been there before. The purpose is we're seeking your approval of this revised fee schedule. As Dave mentioned, we did look at surrounding cities. We looked at what our current facilities, we've done some upgrades or new facilities, as well as the booking trends at these facilities. The highlighted changes are that I'm going to discuss in detail is the international fishing pier fees, the special event application fees, showmobile fees, the trolley rental, special event rental equipment, facility rentals, as well as athletic fields. Next slide. The first item I'm going to go over is the International Fishing Pier. As you'll see on each slide, everything that has been amended is highlighted in yellow. The green columns are our new proposed fees, and the to the right of that is what we currently have as our fees. So we're proposing the non-resident rate for the daily sightseers go from the $1 to the $2 rate. And then we have annual sightseer, 6-month sightseer, and monthly sightseer passes. We have not been able to implement them yet with our registration software system. We've had some issues with getting the badge system to work. We are in the process of getting a new system that should be able to implement that come November with no issues. However, in discussing this, we are recommending that we reduce the annual sightseer fee from the $200 to $75. Part of the reason for that is Pompano Beach, since they've opened their fishing pier up, has an annual pass for their residents, and it's much lower than what our current one is proposed. So we were trying to get more in line with that. And then we're proposing to just take away the 6-month sightseer and the monthly sightseer for the resident side, as we think that the majority of those passes will be the non-residents who are visiting snowbirds or just coming down for long-term rentals and whatnot, that the annual sightseers will be the resident side of things. Next slide. The special event application fees. We get a number of special event applications that we process through our department for residents, non-residents, city events, non-city events, etc. And one of the things that we have an issue with is we get these applications very late in the game. So we're trying to rush them through for approvals. So what we have done is for the residents, we've reduced the fee from $100 to $75 if it's submitted 30 to 59 days prior to an event. We've reduced it from $150 to $100 if it's received less than 30 days. And then we've added, if we receive it less than 2 weeks and then less than a week prior to the event, we've added those fees of $125 and $150. And the goal of those fees is to try and push them to get their applications in for those earlier dates with the reduced fee. The non-resident, we are leaving the same. And then we have implemented or proposed a small nonprofit fee. And part of the reason for that is, again, to try and push these nonprofits to get their applications in a timely manner. We do get a lot of them within that 1 to 2 weeks prior, which then rushes staff, and there's a number of departments that have to review these applications that go out for approval. Next slide. The showmobile rental fee. We are recommending a reduction in the nonprofit fee. The nonprofits are the majority of those that utilize our showmobile. However, our showmobile is probably rented 3 or less times a year for that type of, for any type of event. And normally the nonprofit requests a fee waiver from this showmobile rental. So we're hoping that in reducing the fee there, we may get a few less fee waiver requests and be able to bring in a little bit of money there from the nonprofits utilizing it. Next slide. The trolley, this is just a quick no for everybody. We are removing it. We do not have the trolley anymore, so everything is being strike through and removed from the fee schedule. Next slide. Special event equipment rental. This is the rental of equipment that the city owns that a number of applicants will request from the city to utilize. I'm not going to go through each item, but what we've done is we've looked at what rental companies charge for similar type items and updated them for tables, chairs, coolers. Some events out on the beach for the volleyball tournaments often ask for our portable bleachers, so we have added a fee in for that. And then we've also added an equipment refundable deposit fee, because when they do utilize our equipment, if it does come back damaged, we'd like to have some sort of monetary deposit there that might help to replace some of the damaged equipment. The fees for this are typically requested as a fee waiver as well. So that is why we have to have some sort of established rental fee for them, so that when we go before commission and they are asking to utilize these items, we can present a monetary amount for them to you all. Next slide. Facility rentals. Oviedo, this is, I've broken each slide out by the complex to try and discuss the changes individually for you all. So the first facility is the Oviedo McKeithen Recreational Complex. You'll see that we are proposing on the first line item to reduce this rental rate of the community center from $250 to $200 for residents and $500 to $400 for non-residents. When looking at the fee schedule, this was our most expensive community center, and Highlands was, or Hillsborough, our highest used community center, was actually at the $200, $400 mark. So what we're doing or proposing is to kind of flip-flop Hillsborough and Oviedo, so that this is not the highest gross or highest rated one. As well, in the nonprofit column, you'll see the $25 per hour. It stays the same. However, in our previous approved amended or previous approved fee schedule, you had the 4 asterisks there, which indicated that they could only rent it on the weekdays at $25 an hour. So we are now allowing them to rent it on weekends at $25 an hour should the availability be there. And we specifically note that it's per hour there due to the fact that the resident and non-resident rate is a 4-hour block. So they're separate from the 4-hour block. Then we've added a weekday meeting training rental per hour line item to Oviedo. This existed in Hillsborough and Highlands, but did not at Constitution Park and at Oviedo. So we added it in to maintain a consistency so that every community center has the same exact rental options, the weekend, the weekday meetings, the weekday HOAs. So now all of them will have that. The weekday HOA, like I said, is new. And then we just wanted to make sure we noted that it was for residents only for this rate. And then finally for Oviedo, for the medium pavilion and the small pavilion, a number of those uses are just from pop-up community users. A lot of them come from Stanley Terrace. So when we look at what the actual rentals are on the books for those pavilions, there was 0 rentals on the books. However, we know that they're getting utilized every weekend by the community. So we're proposing that the resident fee for the use goes to a $0 fee. Non-resident would remain the same. Nonprofit would be at $0. However, we still would require them to come in and sign the facility rental waiver. And hopefully that would allow the community to come in more frequently and actually fill the waivers out necessary for the use of our pavilions. Next slide. Constitution Park, once again, we are recommending that the weekend rentals go to the $200, $400 mark from the $250, $500 to treat Oviedo McKeithen and Constitution Park similarly. When we raised the rate from 200 to 400 up to the 250, 500, we saw a reduction in our rentals at Constitution Park. So we are hoping that by going back down to the 200, 400 level, we will see those rentals coming back into that park as well. Then you'll see we've added again, as I mentioned, the weekday meeting training rentals and the weekday HOA to Constitution Park, which was not there before. The small pavilion at Constitution Park, we have not seen a large number of rentals. There was 3 on the books the last fiscal year there. Part of the reason for that is because of the Arboretum. There's a lot of shady picnic areas around the park that you don't need to rent. So we thought we would recommend a reduction there of $25 for the resident and $50 for the non-resident, as well as a nonprofit rate of $75 to see if we can up those rental use of that pavilion. And then finally at Constitution Park, the Arboretum weddings, it is used a lot for weddings. So, but however, one of the things we realized in our beach wedding side of things is when we raised the beach weddings for the non-resident from 300 to 600 in 2017, we saw a large decrease in our non-resident wedding rentals out at the beach. And so we are proposing that the beach non-resident reduce to 450, and to keep it consistent, we are doing the same with the Arboretum weddings. Next slide. West Deerfield Community Center. We are proposing that we reduce the weekend rentals from 200 and 400 for the resident and non-resident to 150 and 300. And what we did is we looked at all of our community centers and kind of tiered them to the highest use and lowest use. And currently West Deerfield is not fully renovated and functioning for the community yet. So we have put that as our lowest dollar amount rental for 150 and 300. We don't know what its use will be once it's fully functioning, but we don't want to price it out of the market either. Next slide. Highlands Community Center is basically staying the same. We've added that the same change for all of the centers with the $25 per hour on the weekends, as well as the $25 on the weekdays. We did increase the weekdays from 20 to 25, as some of the community centers were $20 for the weekday and others were $25 for the weekday. So that's a consistency thing. Again, we changed to make it the same. The HOAs is resident only, and then the small pavilion at Highlands is much like the pavilions at Oviedo McKeithen. There was no rentals on the books. However, we know it does get used by the community. So we are recommending from the resident side, it's a $0 rental fee. That way they come in and reserve it and have the proper paperwork filled out, but there is no fee associated with it. Next slide. Hillsborough Community Center, as you all know, is our most used community center for rentals. So as I mentioned, we are flip-flopping that to be our highest priced community center. So we're recommending an increase on the resident from 200 to 250, the non-resident from 400 to 500. And then we are doing something different here in that we are recommending the nonprofit qualify for the 250 resident rate, as well as it's a 4-hour time block. And that is due to the popularity of this location. We just don't have the hour blocks available at Hillsborough, as it's booked quite far out. As well, the weekday meeting training rentals, we're recommending at a $50 rate for the resident and $75 for the non-resident. Part of this is because we see a large number of businesses coming into Hillsborough for, meetings, trainings, things like that. They come to us because the DoubleTree, which is right next door to them, is quite a bit more than what Hillsborough is. So we thought we would propose a small increase there to benefit off of those businesses that are coming into our center. And then the weekday HOA, the only change there is that it's a resident only offering. Next slide. Johnny McKeithen, we see both of these pavilions used quite frequently. Again, the rentals aren't always on the books. That is something that we are going to work on with our staff and our rangers to make sure we monitor more clearly. However, we are recommending a rate reduction at these two pavilions just to see if we hope to get an increase in our rentals there as well. Next slide. Sullivan Park. Sullivan Park is currently a free rental to our community. They can either first come, first serve or reserve it, but there is no fee associated with it when they reserve it, if it is available to the community. So we are recommending a $150 resident fee, a $300 non-resident fee, and there would be no nonprofit rate available. We are recommending to treat this like a community center with a 4-hour block. Most of our pavilions when you pay them, you receive them for the entire day. However, because again of the popularity of this location, we would like to recommend that it's a 4-hour window in order to serve as much of the community as possible. Last year, we had 104 resident rentals, which would be $15,500 at this resident rate. And we had 123 non-resident rentals, which would equate to $36,900 at this rate. So if we were able to maintain those numbers at this rate, we'd be looking at a $52,000 rental income from Sullivan Park. We are also recommending that the deposit for this location be $250. The typical deposit of a pavilion is $75. However, because of the popularity, the use, the amenities this location has to offer, we think it's important to have a bit higher security deposit at this location as well. Next slide. Pioneer Park is one of our lower rental locations. So again, when looking at our pavilions, looking at what other cities are offering or charging price-wise for similar size pavilions, we are recommending a rate reduction of from 100 to 75 for the resident and 200 to 150 for the non-resident. Next slide. Beach weddings, as I mentioned previously when discussing the Arboretum, when we raised the non-resident fee in 2017, we raised it from $300 to $600. We do not think that there should be an equal resident, non-resident rate. However, because we saw a reduction in the bookings and the rentals from the non-resident, we are recommending a decrease rate down to that $450 mark. Next slide. The observation deck. This is a consistency thing. So as I just discussed for the security deposit for Sullivan Park, we are recommending this security deposit be $250. That makes it consistent with beach weddings, the observation deck, Sullivan Park, as well as it will be the Kirk Cottrell Pavilion, which is an item that will be in the slides in just a second. Next slide. The Kirk Cottrell Pavilion, this would be a new item as well. Once construction is complete, we think that this will be a sought after pavilion for rentals. So we are recommending that it be $250 for the resident, $500 for the non-resident. It's beachfront property, so we're treating it similar to the observation deck. It's another one of the locations we're recommending the 4-hour block for on a pavilion. Again, we're thinking it'll be popular, so we want to have the 4-hour window versus the all-day rental. And then you'll see the $250 security deposit. Next slide. As Dave mentioned, we looked at the rental option of the International Fishing Pier. What we did here, I reached out to the Wyndham staff that have done a number of weddings on our beach and asked what they thought a price point would be for this, as well as I priced out the cost of the loss of revenue, staffing fees, janitorial cost, and then just some miscellaneous cost to figure this $10,000 figure out. The pier revenue loss for an entire day from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., we're estimating at about $3,000. We just picked one Saturday throughout each quarter to come up with that number for comparison. Staffing wise, for the staff needed at the site from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m., it would be around $1,000. Janitorial for the restrooms to be cleaned during the day so that they are look nice for the rental would be $500, and then we estimated a $500 miscellaneous fee for things we may not know that pop out. So we're looking at about $5,000 in lost revenue and staffing costs, and then we put a $5,000 gain on top of that to come up with the $10,000. And then the security deposit would be a quarter of what the rental would be at $2,500. One of the things that does need to be discussed here, though, would be how often we would be interested in doing it if we do pass this. Would it be something we do quarterly? Would it be something that is done, 2 times a quarter? How would we like to propose that? Availability every 2 months, what would our idea be there? Next slide. Security deposits for our facilities, for our indoor facilities, we are recommending an increase from $150 to $250 across the board. This is based off of damages that we've previously incurred at our facilities, as well as we hope that this number will have renters take a little bit more I'm losing my word here, but take better care of the facility to get that $250 back. Next slide. Athletic fields. We are getting rid of the 2-hour window for all of our fields and changing them to a 1-hour pay by hour, which is much more consistent with what other cities throughout the county are doing, and proposing that the new rates are as follows: for $25.35 for 1 hour with lights, and then there's a $40 and $50 for 1 hour with lights. We're renaming the football and soccer fields to multi-purpose fields because they can be used for lacrosse, other types of games and things like that as well. Next slide. The field lining, we are recommending a reduction in the field lining for baseball and softball fields. And again, this is just a consistency thing in order to be more in line with what other cities are charging for the field linings in Broward County. Next slide. The last one we looked at is the sand volleyball. This is for reserved play, not just open play. So if they want to have a volleyball tournament or something to that effect, we are recommending a slight decrease in the non-resident side. And once again, this is consistent with what other cities in the county are doing when we were looking at what other fees of other locations. Next slide. Any questions? And I know that's a lot to take in.
Thank you, Cassie. Commissioner Hudak?
Hello, Cassie. Good job. If you can go to, I guess it's your first slide on the pier. I've got a couple of questions. Maybe we'll just go down to the presentation real quick. Yeah. Okay. So, how many annual sightseers do we get?
As I mentioned, we currently are not selling those because our registration badge system is not working properly. We've been having issues with our RecTrack software to get the badges needed to do the passes. So we're hoping to start those up in November with our new software system that we are going to be launching.
Oh, so this is a new product we haven't offered yet.
Correct.
Okay, if you can go to the next slide, which is, I believe, is special event. This one here. Yeah, okay, so if I put my application in 22 days, what's the charge?
You're gonna fall, as a resident, you would be at that $100 fee.
Okay, because it's less than 30 days, but it's more than 14 days.
Correct.
Okay. And then the last question I have is for the pier, I really think, and it was one of your last slides, I really would like to hear the commission's opinion on providing our residents with a break and maybe charging them $7,500 as opposed to the $10,000. I think, you know, as a resident of Deerfield Beach, you know, we earn some privileges. And I think if we have a resident in Deerfield Beach who wants to have their wedding on our pier, I think that we could give them a, you know, put it at $7,500 as opposed to $10,000. But I'd like to hear the commission's thought on that as well.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Hudak. Is that all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Commissioner Drosky?
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, good evening, Mrs. Warren. Thank you for going through that presentation. My pen ran out of ink. Can you go through those numbers again, please?
It was a lot to take in. I apologize.
So one of my first questions is for the Hillsborough Community Center, you were proposing an HOA rate. Were you proposing one, or is there one proposed for the West Deerfield Community Center? Because if there was on that slide, I missed it.
Yes, there's an HOA fee for each community center now, same exact fee across the board.
So that's going to be, I mean, my communities and HOAs have been chomping at the bit to get back into the West Deerfield Community Center. I mean, it's been, I don't know how long it's been, at least a year or more to get back in there to conduct their meetings. And now if they're being told they have to have, they're going to be charged, a lot of them have not, you know, budgeted that expense or aware that that expense is coming. I can guarantee you all the HOAs in my district out west are not anticipating this fee, and especially so quickly. I understand the need for it, and I'm not necessarily against it, but I'd like to see some type of, you know, grace period, so at least they're on notice that this is coming, because a lot of HOAs, you know, their budgets are so small that, you know, a $20 rental isn't going to make it or break it, but that's something they're going to have to budget for. And this is their budget season as well as we're going through it. So that would be my comment there. Is I think the HOAs need some, either a grace period or some notice that this is coming. I don't think we can spring it on them no matter what community center that we're talking about. That's because it's going to come as a surprise to my folks. I guarantee you that. As far as the pier goes, I mean, I think with respect to the last slide with the rental, I'm kind of thinking on this as I go. I'm kind of thinking the $10,000 is it's almost too cheap. If you're planning a destination wedding to Deerfield Beach and 5,000 is just our costs, 5,000, an additional 5,000 to rent the end of that pier with that view exclusively seems a little light. If you're going to have a destination wedding, you're not going to, I don't think more than that would be the problem. If we're going to close the end of our pier to our residents and our other visitors, then there needs to be an expense that comes with that. And I don't know that 10,000 gets us there. I think it may be a little light the more that I think about it. I'm not adverse to Commissioner Hudak's suggestion of giving the residents a discount on the wedding rental there. And as far as the amount of times to rent it, I'd like to hear more from Commissioner Hudak since that's his district. My initial thought is I would probably not want to do it more than monthly, to be honest with you, but that's just my initial thoughts.
Thank you, Commissioner Drosky. And I have Commissioner Preston.
Yes, first the trolley removal. I think we need to rethink that and maybe incorporate the trolley into some sort of a theme for the city. I think, you know, that trolley is synonymous with who we are. And I think if we were to think of some sort of a theme or something that where that trolley still can be utilized in our city, I think it would be a good thing. The fact that it won't be in operation, I just, you know, I struggle with that. And then secondly, the fishing pier rental, you know, I'm struggling with that one too, because, you know, so very often the residents as well as non-resident people come to our fishing pier because it is an attraction, and they come, they want to visit it, they want to fish, you know, and you know, you're taking away, you know, recreation time from our residents, as well as some people that may journey to the city of Deerfield Beach to be a part of that experience. So, you know, I'm not totally comfortable with that one. You know, you're looking at it totally as a way to make some money, but I struggle with that because people use that pier and they go out there with their kids, their family to relax. And now we're looking at a time, at least however many times a month that it's going to be done, that won't happen.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioner Preston, the trolley actually has not been in operation for quite some time now. This is the change in the fee is just to reflect that it's not operating anymore. In terms of the fishing pier rental, my suggestion would be to either make it quarterly or 6 times per year, and that way you can space that out. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for couples or quite frankly anybody to be able to rent that asset that the city owns. But Commissioner Preston, what you said was something that we thought of when we thought about renting the pier. And so our initial thought was to limit the rental of the pier, which would be an all-day rental, in order to prepare the pier for the event that was going to be had, to either once, like I said, once a quarter or 6 times per year. I think would be a reasonable start for that. And I just wanted to provide that input.
Thank you, Mr. Santucci. I'm going to go with Vice Mayor Parnas and circle back to Commissioner Hudak since he's already spoke once. Vice Mayor Parnas?
I happen to like the prices. I don't know the last time anybody on this commission priced a wedding. They're rather expensive. As far as charging $10,000 for a wedding on the pier for a day, I don't find it objectionable. We need to raise money. The fact that we're lowering our prices on all our other park facilities, I don't think, including the pier, I don't think any of these prices are outlandish. We're all going through tough times right now. A lot of people are still unemployed. Their income is cut. And we're helping them by lowering the prices and making our beach and our parks a little more popular because they're a little more affordable. So I'm going to approve this measure, and it has my support. And I thank the staff for all the work that went into it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Parnas. Commissioner Hudak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with limiting the amount that the pier is rented out. I also don't think it should be rented out consecutive months as well, so that we do space it out. I think, you look at 4 to 6 times a year would, to me, be the max. So that's where I am with that. And I still think that our residents should have some kind of a discount. Whatever, if we go with Commissioner Drosky's recommendation that it's too cheap or whatever the case may be, I think it's a good start. But I still think that our residents should have an opportunity for it, at $7,500. But I think, 4 to 6 times a year max. I'd even propose starting off with 4 and see how that goes, because I'm sure, as everybody knows, the optimum months are from, April to September. So there are a couple of months out there, January, February, probably December, where you're not even gonna, I wouldn't think there are gonna be a lot of weddings during those 3 months.
Thank you, Commissioner Hudak. Is there anyone from the public who care to comment on this item? Madam Clerk, anyone who's written in?
No, sir.
Anyone who's in the chambers?
No, Mayor, there's not.
I'll go ahead and close it to the public. I will say this, one thing I'd like to add, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time or not, because it is a little bit different than a policy we have in place. We just recently had Patriots Day on 9/11, and we have a policy in place that waives the fee for our service members or veterans to be able to use our pier. And if we're looking at changing some fees or making some changes, I'd like to suggest, and this is suggested by a resident, that we include our first responders on Patriots Day when we honor the events of 9/11. So just a suggestion, as something we could either approve here or now, or wait and bring it back another time. But while we're talking about fees, that seemed to make sense to me. I do have a problem with the HOA rental fees in any of our facilities, so I would ask to not have those included. I think the Sullivan Park resident rate should be reduced to $100 instead of $150. If we're going to do the pier rental, I have concerns about, keep in mind with the way the pier is set up, and think about any wedding you've been to, whether there's some, let's say any event that's going to be there, whatever is on that pier has a good possibility of ending up in the ocean, blown away, debris, whatever it might be. I would limit it to quarterly, once per quarter. And I would take it, if we're going to do $10,000, that should be the resident rate. Non-resident rate should be $12,500. And while I know the trolley hasn't been working for a very long time, I think Commissioner Preston's point is a good one. The fact that it might be something we should look at again and see if there's a way to maybe utilize that one other time. But those are my suggestions.
one more point, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
And you prompted it. I really think that all first responders and veterans should have the residential rate. If they can prove they're a veteran or a first responder, no matter where they live, I think they should have the residential rate for visiting the pier. Not the other items, but just for visiting the pier.
Commission?
I have my hand up.
Doesn't show it, but sorry about that, Vice Mayor. Go right ahead. There it is.
I'm going to suggest we table this for the next meeting and add your suggestions to it. I think they are right on the money, Mr. Mayor, and I think we should table it and rewrite it.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Is that the best way to go about it, or can we make those adjustments right now, Mr. Santucci, Mr. Soroka?
Whatever the pleasure of the commission would be, if you're going to do it right now, I just say that make it clear what those changes are for the record.
Okay.
Either way.
Rather than kick it down the road, if it's all right, I would like to make the suggestion of waiving the HOA rental fees. The Sullivan Park resident rate again goes from 150 down to 100. Pier rental will be one time each quarter. The $10,000 would be the resident rate, and the $12,500 would be the non-resident rate. And that would be my suggestion.
I'd also like to add in the veterans and first responders.
And the veterans and first responders pure entrance fee.
I'll make a
Like to
motion.
make that a motion, Mr. Hudak, Commissioner Hudak?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
my hand's
sorry,
up.
Commissioner Preston. I'm sorry, go right ahead.
I agree with you, Mayor. I think this is something that we can do. I know I'm even amenable to the peer rate of 12,500 for non-resident, but I think 10,000 is a bit much for a resident. I'd like to see if there's any room for that to go down a bit. I just think that we can do better there for residents.
Thank you. Mr. Santucci?
Thank you, Mayor. Just for clarity and for the City Commission's understanding, please know that the non-resident rate increase to $2 on the pier was factored in, for our revenues this year. So I do need clarity on whether or not you meant, Commissioner Hudak, that the first responder and veteran rate was that for Patriots Day, or was that at all times?
I think it should be for all times. Veterans and first responders to visit our pier would get the residential rate of $1.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
First of all, I want to thank the mayor for even bringing this up. For our first responders and our patriots. I think it's appropriate, Mayor and colleagues, that it be brought up. I'm also totally in line with Commissioner Hudak. I think it's the right thing. That doesn't hurt us to salute our patriots and to show appreciation. So I'm good with that, and I will support that. Mayor, thanks again for bringing it up. It's a good thing. It's something that we should pay attention to, and it's something that we should respond to.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Hudak, did you want to make those changes? Did you want to make that a motion?
I do want to make it a motion. I do want to remind Commissioner Preston, we're only talking about 4 times a year. So, I think 10,000 is the right number for the resident. I know it's expensive, but it's also a very exclusive event, and it's a very exclusive venue. I'm not saying 7,500 is giving it away, but I think $10,000 for, you only got 1 in 4 chance. And as all of us know, June is the month that everybody wants to get married. So I just think that the motion I'd like to make is a 10,000 for the resident, 1250 for a non-resident.
You know, and I understand what you're saying. It's going to be hard for me because I just think that, you know, would the commission consider, I was looking at like at 8,000. Would the commission consider 9,000 for residents?
Okay, I'll make the motion for 9,000 for residents, 1250 for non-residents.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Do we have clarity on all the changes then? So that would be 9,000 for residents, 12,500 for non-residents for the pier rental, a waiver of the HOA rental fees. Sullivan Park resident rate goes from 150 to 100 on the pavilions. And we're doing only quarterly rentals for the pier.
And first responders and veterans get the residential rate to visit the pier.
Right. Vice Mayor Parnas and Commissioner Drosky, I see your hands raised. Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I objected really dropping it another 1,000. If people can't afford it, they don't have to rent the Embassy Suites for a wedding. I've been to many at a VFW hall, and the wedding was just as lovely. Not as expensive, but the people are still married. I don't think we can base everything on the lowest common denominator. A pier wedding is a pier wedding. It's something different. And I think if people want it, they should pay us for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with $10,000 for non-residents, or for residents, and 12,000 for non-residents.
Okay.
We risk destruction to the pier. We wish excessive cleanup after. We risk stuff going into the ocean. And being cheap is not going to solve the problem. I'm suggesting we leave it at 10,000.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Drosky?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to know who was playing wedding bells while Commissioner Vice Mayor Parnas was speaking.
I was a musician growing up.
No, I actually heard bells in the background, so I don't know who had who that. Anyway, my comments are this. I'm kind of thinking what Vice Mayor Parnas is too. But listen, with all these different fees, I'm not happy with every single one of them. But that's what this is about. It's about compromise and putting together the best deal that we all can live with. So although I'm not happy with everything in the motion, I think I can live with it overall for the sake of getting something passed tonight. And if we don't like it, we can change it as we go. We're the commission. We can change it. If it turns out it's something that isn't working, then we can always change it as we go forward. But as far as tonight goes, I'm going to reluctantly support the motion that was made.
Okay. Can I take that as a second?
You have a second.
I have a second already. Thank you.
Yes,
Commissioner
I
Preston.
second it.
Thank you, Commissioner Preston. We have roll call, please.
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 21 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the evaluation committee's ranking of proposals pursuant to request for proposal number 20-34-PC for design, build, construction for Center for Active Aging rebid, authorizing the city manager to commence contract negotiation with Seawood Builders LLC, the top-ranked firm, providing for severability and an effective date.
Thank you. Mr. Santucci?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, City Commission, the item before you is the recommendation to award and authorize negotiations with the #1 ranked firm as recommended by the evaluation committee for the design, build, construction for the Center for Active Aging to Seawood Builders LLC, which was the top ranked firm through the evaluation process. As you know, this is a rebid. The first time we went through this process, the bids were rejected, and the City Commission directed staff to go ahead and resolicit this. So staff has done so in accordance with the City Commission's direction. I want to point out that this was an RFP process. The first time around, we went through a two-step process. We went through an RFQ process and an RFP process. And this time again, it was just an RFP process. The reason for the difference there would be that by the time we were ready to put this out, we did not have the design build criteria package fully completed. And so rather than wait and hold up the procurement process, we moved forward with the request for qualifications first. Obviously, when you put out an RFP, you don't know who's going to bid on it. You don't know how many proposers are going to bid on it. We obviously had hoped that we would have received more than 3 in that pre-qualification phase, but we did receive 3 qualified firms. By the time we got through the pre-qualification, which came before the City Commission with a recommendation to move all 3 of those firms forward with the request for proposal process, which the request for proposal process speaks more towards the proposer's ability to complete the project as well as the cost factor on the project. Whereas the request for qualifications process looks more towards the qualifications and experience of not only the firm, but its principals and those assigned to the work. Went through that RFP process, as you know, rejected. Now we have the complete design criteria package, and in the first go around only had 3 bidders. So the processes or the process used for this particular solicitation was the RFP. And therefore, city staff had to look at the criteria used both through the request for qualifications process and the request for proposals process, reviewed those, merged a lot of it together, and consolidated into the evaluation criteria, which you see in the RFP before you today. Some of the criteria ranking were in fact amended because since this is no longer a 2-step process, this is a 1-step process, we needed to even out or put more emphasis on the experience and qualification factors, which were not as important during the RFP process of the first solicitation, or I should say the first time we went around on this, because when you had already gone through that pre-qualification, you're under the assumption that you've already worked out those questions, and then in the RFP, you're more concentrated on the price. And so having to merge those 2 processes together during this is the reason for slight modifications to the evaluation criteria on this proposal. That said, it came to the city's attention very recently, and after the evaluation committee had concluded that the #1 ranked proposer has had a for lack of a better word, and has had an issue with the county that is being reviewed and resolved. So that is new information that has come again after the evaluation committee has made their recommendation, and in fact came out the day that the agenda came out for this item. And so here it is before you. That said, it is my recommendation that that staff was not privy to this information, and should be considered in the conversation if the City Commission wishes to have further discussions on this. And I'd be happy to provide further comment to that if asked to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Santucci. Madam Clerk, can you please read any letters that were sent in regarding this item?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to open it up to the public at this point.
The first letter is from Wolfgang Fisher. I vote no, do not pay 1.5 million more to Seawood Builders. Next, we have Tracy Fisher. Do not waste our money and pay Seawood Builders another 1.5 million for the job. Next, Nikki Furtick. I vote no to Seawood Builders. Carl Johnson, I vote no. Sarah Moran, I vote no to pay 1.5 million to Seawood Builders. Ann Seco, vote no on awarding contract to Seawood Builders. Katrina Robeson. I am a resident of Deerfield Beach and I say no to Seawood Builders and paying them 1.5 million to build a proposed senior center. Thank you. Katrina Robeson, 1017 Southeast 5th Street, Deerfield Beach. Next up, we have John Grassi. I am submitting this to be read at September 14th meeting. My comments are not to be shared beforehand. I have read it several times and it clearly is less than 4 minutes. I expect it to be read in its entirety. Deerfield Beach Commission. Mayor Gantz and the list of coincidences and conflicts of interest concerning the $40 million bond. Betty Massey is the president of the Deerfield Beach Chamber of Commerce, who was paid $550,000 for the Chamber of Commerce building when the city could have bought the mortgage for $200,000 and taken title to the property. Note, I believe the building had an asbestos issue. This is the same Chamber of Commerce that when they received this $350,000 gift from Gantz, they had a party in Boca Raton. Betty Massey owns Seawood Builders that also happens to be one of the finalists to bid on the Center for Active Aging. Seawood Builders built and was involved in the sale of the high school of the same high school that Bill Gantz's daughter went to at a cost of $30,000 per year. When Mayor Gantz was asked several years ago by certified letter how he was able to afford to send his daughter to this school, he refused to answer. Betty Massey has been one of Bill Gantz's biggest supporter and financial contributors and made Bill Gantz the guest speaker on economic development, a subject he knows nothing about, during the Chamber of Commerce's annual dinner. Now, to add insult to injury, the project's Center for Active Aging goes to bid and Seawood Builders is disqualified for not revealing all the contributions. What does Mayor Gantz do instead of addressing the issue? He decides to redirect from the issue and go after the resident that found the violation and a group of residents whining that we do not like him, disgraceful and pitiful. What Bill Gantz and the rest of those on the dais could have done was to go to the second bidder. However, instead of going to the second bidder, Bill Gantz and others on the dais decide to rebid the project, as they do not want to pay an extra $500,000. They all emphasize this. Watch the video of April 21st. Recently, the second bids have come out and were posted. As you can see, Seawood Builders
We can't hear you, ma'am.
Oh, I am so sorry.
That's okay.
I've been reading forever. Okay.
No, we heard almost all of it.
Okay,
Except the last sentence you said.
Just when you turn the page.
Great, you scared me for a second there. Okay, so Further, we have learned that 2 changes were made in the second RFP for calculating now criteria were waived. How
I'm
criteria?
going to go ahead and grant the extra minute for you to continue. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Resulting in higher or lower points. Now coincidentally, Seawood Builders, who have never been involved in a city contract and was one of the highest bidders, number 7, and are now number 1 in the ranking, though they are nearly $1.5 million more for the same facility. Taking this into consideration, if Mayor Gantz and the commission award Seawood Builders this contract, we feel this is a direct violation of state statute and it demonstrates outright favoritism. We will then proceed to the Attorney General for the full investigation into corruption at all levels. This is not a discussion, this is a crime in the making. Lastly, I think that this project is not something the people of Deerfield Beach want. It has been a shell game from day one, as was the bond and all the games played up to this point. John Grassi, 1001 Southeast 12th Street, Deerfield Beach.
Thank you. We have Merrill Romanek.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir. We have more.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry about that. We actually have 2 more.
Sure.
The next one I have from Bill Spruce. I'm sorry, 3 more. Bill Spruce, then Dan Hers, and then Glenn Sullivan.
Okay.
Okay, so this one is, we are aware from Bill Spruce, General Counsel for Seawood Builders, we are aware that the same group of people that have denigrated the city of Deerfield Beach, the mayor, the commission, and Seawood Builders have submitted for dramatic effect copies of the claim filed by Broward County naming Catafomu Construction LLC DBA Seawood Builders in regards to repairs needed at the Edgar Mills Center, which was completed in 2010. Although the same group of people have tried to portray this claim as evidence that Seawood Builders is somehow incompetent and that the claim is much more of an issue than it really is, as well as implying that Seawood Builders partook in clandestine actions by not disclosing this matter to the commission. The realities are as follows. The matter is of public nature and therefore made available to the public. The Edgar Mills parking garage and office building were constructed and completed on October 8th, 2010, 10 years ago. Over the past 10 years, Seawood Builders has not received a single notice or complaint regarding the quality of the construction of this facility, not a single complaint in 10 years. The claim is a typical 558 claim, meaning any and all claims regarding a construction project must be made within the 10-year 558 statute. The county obviously calendared the 10-year statute date. Had the facility reviewed by an outside engineer and made claims for repairs in advance of the statute end date. The 3-story office building and garage are in excellent shape with the possible exception of the items enumerated in the claim filed. The parking garage does not need to be closed to the public at this time, as evidenced by the information provided by Reliance Engineering, the firm hired by the county, simply shoring while the remediation was taking place would be more than adequate to allow the garage to be open. We are discussing all options with county assigned personnel. Seawood Builders responded immediately to the county upon receipt of the notice and has been in constant communication with them since the notification. The county has repeatedly thanked Seawood Builders for its prompt response and commitment to assist. Seawood Builders conducted an on-site field meeting last Tuesday, September 8th, 2020, with the county, the shell contractor, the
Your volume's off there. We're going to go ahead and grant you your extra time.
Okay, there is a lot more, so I'm going to move down to the conclusion.
You've got another minute if you can. And
Okay.
if you want to go to the conclusion, go ahead if that makes more sense.
Okay. In conclusion, Seawood Builders still maintains an excellent relationship with Broward County Construction Management Division. The majority of the county personnel that were involved in the original construction are still working at the county and in fact are involved in this process. Over the past 10 years, Seawood has not received a single complaint on the Edgar Mills office building and parking garage. The public is welcome to take a drive by and make their own evaluation of the quality of our work. With the exception of a small group of critics that have a following of less than 1.2% of the population of Deerfield Beach, Seawood Builders enjoys an outstanding reputation built on trust, quality, and integrity.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You have another one to read?
Yes, sir. This is from Dan Hers. Dear Mayor, Vice Mayor.
I'm sorry, can you say that name again? Who?
Dan Hers.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Lately, the City Commission has done a better job of saving the taxpayers' money, as evidenced by the curtailing of recycle and the approximate $50,000 in monthly savings. The City Commission has the opportunity again tonight to save taxpayers over $1 million by awarding the Center for Active Aging contract to one of the other qualified bidders. The evaluation process is a mystery to most citizens, and we depend on the City Commission to represent us citizens in asking the tough questions of the evaluation committee. Some of the questions I have are as follows. 1, the results between the first and second bidding process show West Construction and DePompeo were able to lower their guaranteed maximum price by $427,000 and $800,000 respectively. Yet Seawood Builder only lowered their price by $54,000. 6 new firms bid during the second bidding process, with 2 firms coming in over $1 million less than Seawood's GMP. I am familiar with the high quality work of one of these firms, Sonolosky, Romanik, Bai LLC, and can attest to CEO Manny Sonolosky's excellent reputation in the industry. So the question is why the evaluation criteria changed to downplay the importance of the GMP, especially when saving the taxpayers' money was the reason given by the commission for rejecting negotiating with West Construction or DePompeo during the first bidding process after Seawood's awarding of the contract was rejected. 2, does the revelation regarding Broward County's issue with Seawood Builders pertaining to the Edgar P. Mills parking garage make any members of the City Commission a little uneasy about awarding such a large contract to Seawood, or at the very least make the City Commission want to perform their own due diligence about this, since the evaluation committee was not aware of this problem with Broward County when conducting their evaluation? The City Commission has the discretion to go against the evaluation committee's recommendations. If the City Commission still wants to go with Seawood Builders, at least the citizens are owed a complete explanation of why the City Commission is not willing to save the taxpayers over $1 million on this project. Thank you for your time and consideration. Dan Hers, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue, Deerfield Beach.
Thank you. Are there any others to read?
Yes, next is Glenn Sullivan, and that will be the last written comment.
Okay.
Glenn Sullivan, 2377 Deer Creek Trail, Deerfield Beach. Good evening. Think back to the 21st April 2020 commission meeting. Despite Commissioner Preston's correct recommendation to negotiate with the second and third bidders, a process that the city manager requested, the commission voted to reject all bids due to the cost. We were lectured by the mayor that even $250,000 would be too much to burden the taxpayers. Let me remind the commission that West Construction, the third-ranked company, was less than $40,000 higher than Seawood. While there may have been a 100-point difference in ranking, the city staff found all three capable of the job. It would have taken less than a week to determine if the second or third bidder would match the low price, but the commission chose not to go down that path. During that meeting, Commissioner Drosky pledged, "We came up with the point system and we are going to stick to the point system." Then the request for proposal was released and the point system changed, and all the lecturing about the importance of cost evaporated. The weight or importance for cost was reduced by 25%. The city manager will rightfully state that since there were new bidders, the bids had to include additional design criteria. However, the new criteria, again, lowering the importance for cost, included highly redundant and irrelevant inquiries. The city manager should also remind you that this design build is far different than a typical design build. The city already paid a contractor to develop over 80% of the design. Did the final 20% or less design deserve reducing the importance of cost? I did not arrive at that conclusion when the 21st April meeting adjourned. While the bidders were still preparing their proposals, the city made another change to the importance of cost. The formula used to determine how to calculate the score for the price was changed, thus lowering the variance in points for a lower bid over a higher bid. In effect, a high bidder would not be penalized as much with the new criteria. So much for the lecturing on the importance of cost. In August 2020, the city staff recommended to award a contract to the same bidder disqualified previously for $1.5 million above the lowest bidder. Beyond the reduction in importance of cost, there are red flags in the process and outcome of that evaluation. There was absolutely no methodology in reviewing the proposals to the criteria and the actual scoring points out a level of bias.
Mayor.
Yes.
I was timing this, that you're at 3 minutes. I just want to let you know.
Thank you very much. We'll give you one more minute here.
Okay, thank you. Even with the obvious bias, the team meeting to discuss evaluation scoring did not touch on the wide variance shown, nor did they take the opportunity to request oral presentations from the top 3 contractors. This is the largest and most complex contract to be awarded, and the methods used by the city were no different than what they have done for far lower cost and complexity. On the 10th of September 2020, Broward County began litigation with Seawood based on design build deficiencies in the Edgar P. Miles Complex parking garage. Significant deficiencies were found, which leave only the first floor for use until the parking garage.
Thank you very much. That additional minute's up at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Any other written comment?
No, sir.
Is there anyone in the chambers? No. Okay.
No, Mayor, there's not.
Thank you. We have the first person of their hand raised, Meryl Romanek.
I'm going to yield to Rod Finer.
Okay, thank you. We have Justin Schiff.
I'm going to yield to Rod Finer.
Okay. We have Manny's iPhone.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Also going to yield to Rod Finer.
Thank you, Mr. iPhone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Jacob Pfeiffer. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like as well to yield my time to Rod Finer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Finer?
I'm waiting for my video to come on.
Okay. I just need your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. For some reason, it's not coming on because the host says it stopped it. So hopefully she can figure that out while we're going forward. My name is Rod Finer. I'm an attorney with Coker and Finer, 1404 South Andrews Avenue in Fort Lauderdale. I represent Shift Construction, and they are partners and part of the design build for Sinaloski, Romanek, and Stay. We're here to ask you today to actually award the contract to Sinaloski, Romanek, and Stay instead of Seawood Builders for a couple of reasons. The people who wrote letters really mentioned most of what I was going to say, going to originally the process of the amount of deference in the ranking criteria given to in the original RFP versus then the subsequent RFP. If that original ranking criteria was used, then Sinaloski would have been the lowest or would have been the winning RFP responder. Actually, even once the criteria was amended the first time, and if that criteria would have been used, Sinaloski would have been awarded the contract. Instead, after the RFP was issued, the city issued a second amendment, even further clarifying the price was not to be such a major consideration in diluting the effective price on the overall RFP process, such that it caused Shift and Sinaloski to be number two. Where if the original RFP was used on the original rebid, or even the original criteria, Sinaloski would have been ranked number one. So all those changes, and this is not just a slight difference, Mr. Mayor, let me say that. The Sinaloski proposal was $1.1 million less expensive than the Seawood Builders proposal. So that would be a cost savings to the city of $1.1 million by going someone who was finished second, who, but for the criteria in the changing of the RFPs, would have been number one anyway. And again, I'll defer you back to that April meeting where the city commission specified that the finances involved in this project were so significant. In addition to that,
Mr. Finer, was Sinaloski, did they bid the first time around?
They did not, sir.
Thank you.
But again, that's why it was rebid, so you could hopefully get more people, sure. Mr. Mayor. One of the other things that I'd like to point out, besides just the price and how the changing of the terms on the price between the original RFQ and RFP and the amended RFP that was sent out for re-proposals, is actually, if you look at the evaluation criteria, we did a public records request and got all the evaluation criteria from the 5 committee staff members. And if you look at them and how they ranked people, it's kind of illuminating. You have 4 of the evaluators who gave a high number to whoever they gave a number with, and then gradually shifted the weight of the other proposers as they evaluated. So for instance, one went from 138 to 129 to 123 points. Another one went from 125 points to 113 points to 114 points to 90 points. And that's all interesting until you get to one reviewer who ranked Seawood at 110 and then ranked every other person who submitted a response in the 70s or a 50 and a 30. They submitted almost everyone in a 70, so almost 45 or 40 points lower, except for the one person who bid. That's an abnormality that's not even reflected in the other 4 people who evaluated their criteria. Why is that important? Because if you throw out that one outlier, and they obviously didn't understand how the criteria was supposed to be applied one way or the other. If you throw out that one person, and even if you use the existing criteria in the code and you just use those 4 people, Sinaloski is the number one. Sinaloski ends up being ranked number 1. So by doing one person at 110 and the rest being ranked in the mid 70s, it skewed the entire dynamic of all the other 4 reviewers and how this process got weighed. And that's a major defect we assert in the process of what's going on here. So when you look at the price issues, the $1.1 million left for Sinaloski, and you also look at that outlier in the process, we just think there are some irregularities here that warrant awarding the contract to Sinaloski, especially considering it's $1.1 million less expensive. The other issue, what I'd like to talk about real quick, and everyone else did and talked about the issue Seawood was having with the county. And we understand that staff was not aware of this at the time it was doing the rankings.
I'm going to give you another extra minute, Mr. Finer. Your 3 minutes are up.
Thank you, sir. I thought I might have more because people yielded their time to me, but that's okay. I'll be able
You
to.
can't do that the way it works here, but go ahead.
That's fine. The one thing I'll point.
I'm sorry, Mr. Finer, and just to interrupt, the mayor is correct, but you could have an additional 5 minutes, I think, under our rules if you asked and the others yielded and to not request more additional time. So it'd be the 3 minutes plus up to 5.
Thank you,
if the mayor is willing to grant that.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney, and thank you, Mr. Mayor. But again, I think I'll finish up relatively quickly here. With regard to the issue of Seawood in the county, I'm not going to get into the specifics of that. Obviously, staff didn't know about it. What I will point out, however, is that Shift Construction Development, who is part of the Sinaloa team, were the people that the county called in to shore up the first floor of the parking garage because it was in danger of imminent collapse. So Shift was called by the county on the issue to shore up the garage, make sure it didn't collapse, and so make sure the first floor of the garage could be used. So I think that shows a level of trust that Shift has with the county as well. But again, $1.1 million less expensive and an outlier of one person who was ranking the criteria seems to, in this case, justify that the city commission uses discretion and award the contract to Sinaloa instead of Seawood Builders. And
Thank
we're,
you.
of course, happy to answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Finer. Ms. Massey? Or Mrs. Massey?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Name and
Okay.
address for the
Did you
record, please. Yes.
Okay. 1617 Southeast 6th Street, Deerfield Beach, Florida. I'm a partner and CFO at Seawood Builders. I'd like to start out by saying that all of the conversation about the Edgar Mills project is inaccurate. We just today had a meeting with the county, and the repairs will be about $30,000 to $50,000. They are not dangerous. They are not emergency repairs. The shoring was not required. We have engineers on record documenting this, and the county has agreed with us to move forward with these minor repairs on a 10-year-old building that has been through 2 hurricanes and has never in 10 years had a single complaint about quality of the project. I will move on. By way of background, my husband and I have owned and operated Seawood Builders for over 35 years. We've constructed $1 billion in projects and never have had any issues with any of our clients complaining about the quality of our work or the integrity of our company. In the last few years, a very small but group who clearly have their own political agenda have sought to besmirch and outright defame my company, my family, and our team to advance their agenda. They have made numerous libelous statements attempting to paint a picture of favoritism between us and Mayor Gantz in particular. Their behavior and what they are attempting to do is reprehensible. We have attempted in the past 2 years to take the high road by ignoring their false, unfounded accusations for 2 years. Now, with their latest slanderous onslaught, we have had enough. To that end, we have asked our attorneys to assess filing a defamation lawsuit against the perpetrators. But tonight, we are here, you are here, to finalize the RFP process for the Center of Active Aging. There was a process. We all bought into the process. 9 people bid following the rules of the process. We are not here tonight to change the process. Everyone is aware this is the second time an RFP was issued for this project. Seawood Builders was ranked #1 the first time. However, due to a minor oversight on our part, we failed to disclose a single $500 political donation to the mayor's campaign fund, which was already a matter of public record, a minor technical issue, to say the least. The commission ultimately chose to void the process and start over. On this second time around, 10 companies submitted proposals in response to the RFP. Once again, the evaluation committee, separate from this commission, ranked Seawood Builders #1. We now hear complaints and additional possibly slanderous comments from the same group of politically motivated people that we are not the lowest bidder. That is true. As we all know, there are different methods for choosing a construction partner for public projects in Deerfield Beach and across the country. There are requests for proposals and there are invitations for bid. In the latter, the municipality has decided that price is the single most important factor. You did not choose invitation for bid. You chose RFP, where you decided that price was a factor, but not the most important factor. There were other things: design build experience, bonding capacity, experience with projects of similar size and complexity, experience, resumes of the team who will perform the work, etc. In other words, the RFP process is designed to identify a true partner in the process, not the low bidder. Although this has no impact on this particular RFP, it is interesting to note that Seawood's price is within less than 2% of the average and the mean pricing on this project. The average price of all 10 bidders was $11,378,000. Seawood was at $11,570,000, a very minor, less than 1.5% difference in price. In closing, the city chose 2 times to use the RFP process to select a partner for this project. The criteria for selection was not low bid, but rather the most qualified company ranking the highest on all of the components of the RFP's evaluation process.
Thank you, Ms.
Seawood
Matthews.
Builders,
Your time, I'll give you 10 seconds to finish up.
Seawood Builders is a local ranked #1 twice, and the commission tonight should vote to accept the solicitation committee's recommendation to enter contract with Seawood Builders based on a fair and transparent RFP process.
Thank
you.
And we have Natalie. Natalie? You're unmiked. Go ahead, Natalie. Going once. Natalie? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody in the chambers to speak on this item?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Okay, thank you.
Mary Gantz, Natalie is sending a chat.
Okay.
She said that her mic, I don't have a mic, but she's chatted me a comment. And the comment basically says, vote no to Seawood Builders. We can't afford this project. We can't afford it at this time.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. With that, I'm going to close it out to the public. Commissioner Preston.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. When we were in this situation the last time, I suggested that we look at the second and third companies. And what was said at that time was there was a differentiation in price of $500,000 and that the city couldn't afford it. Now we find ourselves with a difference of $1.5 million. What I think should have happened after we kicked it back to staff, after staff did the top 3, I think those companies should have come before the city commission and present. And that didn't happen. And so now we find ourselves in this situation. Staff clearly did not have this information when they did the ranking. So at the very least, I think we should kick this back to staff and redo the entire process.
You're saying to go ahead and rebid the whole thing out again?
Yes.
Okay. Vice Mayor Parnas?
First, let me say that I have not received any kind of contribution to my campaign, either before or presently, from Seawood Builders. Let's get that clear. Second, from 1979 through 1981, I owned a company in New York called the Parnas Supply Corporation and was known as a bid broker. I sold millions of dollars to the government, both federal, state, and New York City. City Hospitals Corporation. I know a little bit about the bid business. I do know that contracts are very complex. In New York, incidentally, they awarded 5% extra discount to businesses that operated within the city of New York. If we were talking about aluminum foil and you bid $1.02 and I bid $1.03, you came from New Jersey and I came from New York City, I won the bid because they took care of businesses that paid taxes in that city for years. That's the way it worked. We have a committee who ranks companies. Now, what are they ranking? Part of it is what their ability to complete the job that we would be happy with, according to the specs, on time and within budget, with no problems. I never discussed with the committee. I don't think anybody on this commission did. They are an independent group. And this group decided that Seawood should get the contract. Why do we have the committee? Why don't we just say, we'll take the lowest bidder, even if their work is shoddy? Why bother? We're looking for lowest bidders. No, that's not the way contracts work. Yes, if you're buying tinfoil and you use a company like Alcoa or Kaiser Aluminum, I happen to represent Kaiser Aluminum in those days, a roll of paper or tinfoil was a roll of tinfoil, and the lowest bidder got the bid. I was lucky because my business operated in the city. If I was tied with Alcoa, I still got the bid. They knew I would deliver on time. I would deliver to where it was supposed to go, and my price was right. We're in a similar situation here. We have a committee that decides this. The city that I lived in had a similar committee. They decided on contracts to build a building, a city hospital. They used the same kind of system we do. They had an independent committee that looked at the companies that wanted to build that hospital. And they recommended to the city council who they felt was the best company to do the job. I will still support the original bid and what we had decided. There was a technicality there with no intent. I say that because Seawood Builders reported one of your contributions to your campaign and left out a second one. There was no attempt to hide the fact that they had supported you in their in your campaign. There was no secret. There's no secret here. I still stand behind Seawood Builders and will cast my vote for them tonight.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Mr. Santucci.
Thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to speak again. I do want to just provide a little bit of clarity here on the process so that the commission is aware of the three options they have before them. And Anthony, please feel free, Mr. Soroka, to correct me if I'm wrong, but one is to award as recommended by the evaluation committee. Two is to send this back to the evaluation for further consideration. And I'll talk about that a little bit more here in just a second. Third would be if the city commission wanted to do their own evaluation, they could on a 4/5 vote to do so, then in which case you would become the evaluation committee and be subjected to all of the proposals and evaluation processes that the evaluation committee did as well. So you'd have to read through all the proposals, the technical proposals, complete the evaluation sheets independently, go back before as a body of a commission and go through that exercise. But going back to what Commissioner Preston said, so Commissioner Preston, I mean, of course, it would be, I think, okay for the top or for the firms to present to the commission. But what is available to you is to send it back to the evaluation committee so that the evaluation committee can receive presentations and conduct oral interviews with the firms. And that could be with all of the firms or a small section of those firms, like say the top 3 ranked firms or something along those lines.
I think you, yeah, but I think you misunderstood what I was saying. What I was saying was, rather than rank them 1, 2, and 3. Now, after they got the top 3, rather than having a ranking, those top 3 should have come before the commission and presented. That's what I was saying.
I understand, Commissioner, but I don't think that is not the way in which the city's code of ordinances allow for the procurement process to move forward.
Okay, thank you.
Although if those oral presentations and those oral interviews were conducted, they are public meetings. Hopefully, Mr. Soroka, I've stated that correctly.
Yeah, I just add to what you provide. There's a 4th option. I think the commission knows this, but just to reject all responses for a stated reason as well, technically per the code. And both the code and the solicitation for this item do contemplate that there could be, by the evaluation committee, presentations by the firms. And of course, the commission does have the ability, to the extent that the firms show up to the commission meeting, to ask them questions.
I'm sorry, say that again, Mr. Soroka.
I think there was a question from Commissioner Preston, or he raised the issue about having oral presentations from them to the commission. I was just making the comment, it's not necessarily oral presentations, but to the extent they were present at a commission meeting, you could certainly ask them, questions prior to making a motion on an item.
They could make but the procedure would be that right now they could make oral presentations to the committee if it was sent back to the committee?
That's correct. That's both contemplated in the code, and the solicitation document that was issued for this item does speak to the ability for the ability to shortlist firms, and also hear from have the evaluation committee hear presentations.
Okay, and can you clarify also, because there seemed to be a lot of information provided that didn't seem to be accurate, and what our options were the first time that we put this out?
Yeah, sure. It's the same options that you have before you tonight in the code. 1, you can approve the evaluation committee's recommendation. 2, you can reject all submittals for a stated reason. 3, you could re-rank. You'd have to do it by a supermajority vote, and you'd have to basically review all the materials that the evaluation committee did, and sit in their, sit in their shoes, essentially. And 4 would be to send the ranking evaluation committee send the evaluation and ranking back to the evaluation committee to conduct further evaluations consistent with the requirements of the RFP.
So we never had the option to throw out the number 1 bidder and go immediately to the number 2 and tell the city manager to go negotiate from there.
Many cities do have that option in their code, the ability for the commission to basically re-rank at the commission meeting.
But we do not.
You have those 4 options that I just laid out provided for your code. That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. So it's inaccurate for someone to say that's what we could have done.
Yeah, it would need to go, in my opinion, based on your code, it would need to go back to the evaluation committee before you could take that action, or you would have to do the re-ranking we spoke of before. Could be done at that meeting.
Commissioner Drosky?
Thank you, Mayor. And the exact reason why we don't have that in our code is because we don't play, the reason it's not there is because it takes the politics out of this as well. It prevents a commission from saying, okay, number 1 got it, but we don't like number 1. Let's give it to number 2. And so there's a reason that we don't have that. It's for more transparency, and it's to take the politics out of the process. So that's why we can't just jump around to whichever bidder that we want. There's an actual procedure that we have to follow per our ordinance here. First of all, I've sat on one of these committees, before for our auditor, and it's a very long and laborious process. The amount of materials involved is just absolutely voluminous. I know for the auditors that we had, there was probably well over 1,000 pages, and that's probably being very on the light side, pages of material that we had to go through and to sort. I would suspect on something like this, I didn't go through all 7 of these proposals or whatever. I would imagine it'd probably be in the thousands of pages. So the committee, these folks don't know the individual bidders, and to basically attack the individual members of this committee, I think is very unfair. These are city employees who are trying to do their very best for the city of Deerfield Beach to evaluate the materials that are given to them, and to attack them, to me, is not fair. I've sat on that committee, and I know I would not want to be attacked for doing, what I thought was my best job in evaluating these particular materials. So they're doing the best that they can with the information that they have. And that's why you have a committee, why you don't have one individual member. You have a committee so that if one person is a tougher grader, for example, me, in the last meeting when we had the city manager's evaluation, if I'm a harder grader than somebody else, then my score is compensated by the entire process that's taken into consideration. You've really got 2 sides of the spectrum to this. You've got Mr. Feiner on one side, who was talking about quote unquote irregularities. And then you have Mrs. Massey on the other side, who's talking about, following the process. And so what am I to do as a city commissioner? I have to step back and I have to do, what I think is right. I have to do what my gut tells me to do. And I have to look at this fairly to all that are involved and to the citizens of Deerfield Beach. And so I lie kind of somewhere between Commissioner Preston and Vice Mayor Parnes on this particular subject. The notice that was provided by the county with respect to Chapter 558, I'm the only attorney on the dais, and I'm aware what Chapter 558 is done, and I know why the county does it, and I know why the timeline that they do it in. But I am concerned that information was not available to the committee when they were making their evaluation. I mean, we're talking about the quality of work that was done to a project that I think the city of Deerfield Beach should have the answer to. And the committee was just not given the opportunity to review and evaluate that information. I mean, the letter from the county, granted, came out after this process, but I think it's something that weighs heavily on the decision that we are about to make. So the other issue that I have with what happened is that the committee was given the opportunity to have oral presentations, and that motion was voted down. It was denied by the committee, and I think that was a mistake. I think there should have been oral presentations given to the ranking committee. So having said all that, what would I do going forward? I would do this. I would take the list of candidates that we have. I would shortlist that to 3 companies. And I would have those 3 companies give oral presentations to the ranking committee. And more importantly, I would have all 3 companies, not just Seawood Builders. I would have all 3 companies disclose their litigation history, which includes not only filed lawsuits, but any legal disputes that they may have with any entities out there, to give the ranking committee the full information that it needs to make a recommendation. I mean, I hate to kick it back, but I think a full and complete record is what the situation calls for. I think it needs to be vetted by the ranking committee. I totally concur with Vice Mayor Parnes that that's exactly why we have these committees. Why have a committee if they're not going to do their job? And we need to give them that ability to do so. So I think it needs to go back to them to hear oral presentations and to vet the litigation / legal disputes of the top 3 candidates, and then bring it back to the commission. I think there's a little bit more work to be done to make me happy. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Hudak?
Well, again, Commissioner Drosky is looking at my notes. I concur with his point of view. I actually listened to the selection committee minutes. It is available. And the one thing that I can say is that these individuals are qualified to do this selection first and foremost. But Commissioner Drosky is correct. There was a recommendation by one of the members to have oral presentations done. And it was, there was no second motion to that. And I think that is definitely a misstep. The fact that this information came out after the selection committee made their decisions definitely warrants them an opportunity to relook at the information. I really think that we need to look at the top 3 finalists, Seawood Builders, SRS, and Gulf, to go ahead. The points are very, very close between those 3 vendors, but yet the dollar amount is, again, over $1 million. And that is something that we as a commission did say back in April, that, you know, cost is important. It's important to all of us. It's important to the taxpayers. And we have to be able to, if Seawood Builders is the #1 choice of the selection committee, as it says, we have to be able to justify to you know, our voting members, you know, the $1 million extra that we're going to spend. I will say that Seawood Builders did make a contribution to myself in the amount of $1,000. I will say that I was also part of the Chamber of Commerce. So I do know the president of Seawood Builders, and I have nothing but respect for her and the company that her and her husband operate. But you know what? That is $1,000 difference between the #1 choice and the #3 choice. And I think it's important that oral presentations for those 3 companies are provided to the selection committee to ensure that if indeed Seawood Builders is the, you know, they have won it twice now, and that is a testament to them. But it is, again, $1 million that we do have to look at. So my recommendation would be to send it back to the selection committee and have the top 3 choices provide oral arguments to the selection committee, and then have the selection committee make a final recommendation. And I do not think it should be the commission's decision with regards to being a selection committee. Again, we are not experts in building. We have city experts, and we have to rely on their judgment and their integrity. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hudak. And I see Ms. Massey has her hand raised again. I'm not going to circle back around. We've closed it to the public at this point. And I'm just going to say this. First off, when it comes, I think it's pretty clear that, yes, there are some axes to grind here. I think anyone can see that. We'll start with Mr. Grassi and his comments. I mean, just to the absurdity to think that there's some kind of impropriety here is ridiculous. Yeah, my daughter is a junior in college at this point. So you're talking about 6 years ago that my family made a decision to send one of our children to a school, to North Broward Prep. And that was before I knew who Ed and Betty Massey were, and even years before I knew that they had any involvement with one of the construction of a building or maybe the school itself. To try to imply that this is some long played out plan, that here we are 6 years later, that this is some sort of payback for something along those lines, is absurd, completely absurd. I have 2 children. We chose a decision to send my daughter to one school. I don't have to respond to Mr. Grassi forking out money with a certified letter to answer his own personal questions. I don't expect someone with a personal bankruptcy in their bank background like Mr. Grassi to understand what it's like to make tough decisions and spend money and do what you have to do for your children. But it has nothing to do with the Massey's or Seawood builders. It's completely absurd. It's interesting that the people that have an issue with this and have targeted before the bids were even in, this particular bidder, didn't have an issue with price the last time around, but now they suddenly do. There was no mention of that because that didn't really fall in their favor. Let's take a look at what happened the last time. We did not have the option, as some have proposed, for us to go ahead and say, you know what, we'll get rid of number 1, city manager, go negotiate with number 2. We didn't have that option. That's not what was proposed. Okay, some people thought we could do that, but that's not what we had the ability to do. What we did is we threw it all out and we started over again. No one knew what the prices were when they were going to come in. Nobody knew where anyone would be. So to think that because there was a change in how it went about it, which was explained and makes sense by the city manager, whether they agree or disagree, works out for the best for the city of Deerfield Beach. Now, the first time around, we went from 3 bidders. We increased that to 9. If we had done what was suggested by some of those complaining here tonight, if we had done what they suggested, we would have gone with the number 2 bidder. And at the best case scenario, if we could have negotiated with them to get them down to match the previous bidder, we still would have ended up, the taxpayers would have ended up over $50,000, cost us over $50,000 more if we had gone about that, because the price has changed by $50,000 for the number 1 bidder, or for the number 1 choice here. So if we had gone with that originally, we would have been at best case scenario out over $50,000. So we tossed it back. We did the right thing. We sent it back and we put it all out for proposal. We have 9 more, we have 8 more that have come forward to bid on this. As a matter of fact, the number 2 who would have been awarded it the first go around wouldn't even make the top 3 this time around. We have outstanding firms that came forward. Price was factored in, but it was never the number 1 reason. The reason it became such a factor the first time around is with only 3 bidders, and there being such a separation between the number 1 and number 2, if we sent it back, the way the numbers worked out between the number 2 and the number 3, it was pretty clear that number 2 would have been ranked number 1, possibly at that point. But their price was so far off that we said, you know what, it's in the best interest of the city for us to go out and put it back out on the street. And that's what we did. And it worked out well for us. So looking at this, the worst thing that we can do is to do our own evaluation committee as a commission. You want to talk about people suggesting impropriety? This ridiculous thing that this is some 6-year long-term plan. You think that's nuts? It would have been a lot more, it's a lot easier for people to take a look at this and say, well, the commission made this decision. No, we have an independent body that made this decision. And I agree with Commissioner Drosky. I don't think it's fair to select one out to go ahead and, I don't want to say pick on them, but to suggest that they didn't know what they were doing. In the end, the way the system is set up, the system works. It's amazing how people only have a problem with the system when it doesn't work in their favor, but everybody knew what the rules were and the way the rankings were going to be placed and the weight of each vote. So that leads us to our other selections, options that we have. And again, I say that our worst thing that we could do is be our own evaluation committee. That's not something we should be doing. We could reject all the proposals. We've already done that once. If the criteria aren't going to change, what are we going to get out of that? We got 8 more people that jumped in on this, but I don't see things changing that much. I don't think we have to go that far. Send it back to the committee. I think that's the right thing to do, because there are some things that have come out since all of this started that need to be evaluated and looked into. They are concerning, and we've heard both sides of the coin on how serious it is. I think we need to find out exactly how serious it is, and it needs to be decided by the committee at that point. And I do agree that oral presentations is an excellent way to go. That's what should happen. That's what I would recommend. I don't think awarding it here tonight is the right thing to do, simply because there's new information that the evaluation committee did not have in front of them that should be looked at. And that's the approach that I think we should do. Commissioner Preston?
Well, I was just echoing that. That's what I said initially, is that at the time of the ranking, there was information that was not available to the committee. And that would be the right thing for them to do, is to take that into consideration. So I'm okay with that. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that the top 3 bidders are sent back to the selection committee to further their evaluation and to also include oral presentations by each of the 3 bidders.
Mr. Soroka, I see your hand up.
I think I know what Commissioner Hudak means. Just to be clear, so you're not shortlisting, but you're requesting that the evaluation committee shortlist consistent with our code, right, to the top 3?
That's correct, sir.
Okay. So you got it.
Second that motion.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hudak, seconded by Vice Mayor Drosky, or excuse me, Vice Mayor Parnas. I'm going to call Commissioner Drosky to speak since his hand is up.
Yeah, I had also made the suggestion, I mean, just sending it back for the purpose of oral presentations, I don't think gives them direction to look into the additional legal matters, which we want additional vetting to as well. So I would like to see that incorporated into the motion as well.
Mr. Santucci?
Just wanted to comment that with all of the other questions and direction that's provided to the top 3 ranked firms, included in that will be the request from Commissioner Drosky.
Thank you. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes?
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Number 22 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, extending the state of local emergency regarding COVID-19 until October 17th, 2020, authorizing the city manager to take appropriate actions, providing an effective date. And Mr. Mayor, I would just request very briefly, I just wanted to give you an update on this item.
Sure.
After we issued or published the item, the governor did issue a further extension of the state of emergency at the state level for 60 days. It was set to expire September 7th. That has now been extended till November 4th in terms of the state's state of emergency.
Excellent. Is there anyone from the public who's written in to speak on this item?
No, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone in the chambers?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay. I'm going to, I don't see any hands raised from the public. I'll close it to the public. Vice Mayor Parnas.
I'm going to suggest that we accept the governor's extension and extend it to the further date.
Okay. We have a motion.
You have a motion to extend it, I believe, into November.
Thank you.
The motion, the item before you is for 30 days because that's what our code provides, Mr. Vice Mayor, if that's okay. So it would be a motion to approve the item.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve it for the 30 days and then we can come back and visit it in another 30 days. Fine.
Second.
We have a second from Commissioner Preston. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay, passes unanimously.
Item number 23 is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, approving the agreement with Calais America Inc. for parking revenue collection services, waiving the city's competitive selection requirements to authorize the city to enter into an agreement with Calais America Inc. for parking revenue collection services for a three-year term with 2 one-year renewals and an annual amount not to exceed $46,248, providing for an effective date.
Okay. Mr. Santucci.
Thank you, Mayor. The item before you is a new contract with an existing service provider, Calais America Inc., for our parking revenue collection services and system. This was competitively bid previously. The contract is set to expire, I believe, in January. Staff has successfully negotiated a new contract with them because there are no more renewals on this contract. We believe that this new contract represents a very good thing for the city for several reasons. First and foremost, Calais has been a very good partner with the city on its parking revenue system for the term of the current contract. The costs were negotiated to reduce them from where that we originally started with them on this new term. Third, they represent a significant cost savings to us by not going with a new vendor where we would have infrastructure costs in terms of the meters and the software that we will forego by continuing on with this existing contractor. And lastly, there is familiarity with the system, not only for our end users, our residents and our visitors who use the parking system, but as well as for staff too. So there are several reasons that I believe moving this contract forward is in the best interest of the city. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Is there anyone from the public who's written in on this item?
No, sir.
Okay, anyone in the chambers?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay, I don't see any hands raised, so I'll close it to the public. I will say this, I think we knew when we were getting into this with what we're investing in the actual apparatuses that we knew that this was something that we would be working with Calais America for a long time on this. Commissioner Hudak?
Yeah, and I guess that's my point, Mr. Mayor. I guess we own the meters themselves, and it's the software that I guess Calais is providing. My concern is, if they decide to quadruple their price, we've got no choice. And I don't know if this is, such a non-competitive market that there is only one game in town, but I'm just concerned that we've kind of, painted ourselves in a corner where, this is basically the only company that we can do business with. So that's my concern. I don't know what other players are there in this market. Where do they rank? Are they, one of the top companies? Or are they, the type of company that we purchased the Ballards for that are now out of business and we can't get them repaired? So I'd just like a little bit more information with regards to this actual company. And I presume we're going to have a very long relationship with them.
Sure, Commissioner, I can provide some comments on that. So they are a worldwide company. They have parking systems throughout the entire world. Yes, we do own the meters themselves. They were purchased from Calais. So if we went with a different system, we would buy different meters, and they're not cheap. I think they're about somewhere between 7,500 to 10 grand a piece. So replacing all those meters, going with a new vendor would mean replacing all those meters, as well as you'd have costs associated with implementation of new software and all the costs associated when you're bringing on a brand new system. So we were avoiding all those costs by remaining with Calais. We're not handcuffed to them, but the relationship, like I said, has been good. If we were having issues, we would certainly go out for an RFP and, look at different options, even in the face of those additional costs. But as I mentioned, it's been a good relationship so far. The system's working well. They provide great customer service, and the recommendation is to move forward with Calais for another contract.
Okay.
Hopefully I answered all your questions.
See Mr. Figueroa's hand is up.
Good evening. Good evening to all. If I may, just to assuage any fears with respect to the cost, Calais actually stepped up to the plate. So for the next 5 years, the city of Deerfield Beach will save $98,700, which comes out to a little bit less than $20,000 per year. Are there other manufacturers out there? Without a doubt. The question becomes, are you prepared to spend over $400,000 to replace what we currently have? What we have works. The relationship with Calais is terrific. They respond to our needs. The equipment has worked for us. It has there's a user-friendly component to it. It allows for a seamless transition from the first initial contract to this new contract. And again, the savings over the course of the next 5 years is close to $100,000, which is substantial in the whole grand scheme of things.
Thank you. Commissioner Preston?
Of course, Mr. Figueroa is going to give us all the pluses and tell us how good everything is. But I'm on board with my colleague. I think his concerns are legitimate, and but the city manager has said that we have a good relationship with them. I think we should continue with that, but we should, keep an awareness about how this is going, irregardless of how the company might paint itself. The fact of the matter is, do they hold a monopoly? So I still say the city manager, I think I think he's done the right thing. He says that the relationship is good, and that basically that worry isn't there. I trust him at that. But Commissioner Hudak's comments and his concern is definitely legitimate.
Thank you, Commissioner Preston. Commission? Mr. Soroka, do we have an out clause on this contract?
There is a termination for convenience, Mr. Mayor. Let me just double check that right now as you're doing that. I don't know if you opened it up to the public yet. Give me a minute, I'll double check.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. It's 60-day notice, termination for convenience.
Thank you. Commission, we're looking for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we have roll call, please?
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnes,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Item number 24 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, amending Division 1 generally of Article 2, stopping, standing, parking of Chapter 66, Traffic and Vehicles, Section 66-41, parking citations and penalties of the City Code to provide for the establishment of enhanced parking enforcement and collection programs, providing for conflict severability codification and an effective date.
Is there anyone from the public who's written in on this item?
No, sir.
Anyone in the chambers?
No, Mayor, there's not.
Okay, I'm going to close it to the public then. Commission?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by the Vice Mayor, seconded by Commissioner Hudak. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously.
Item number 25 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, amending Division 1 generally of Article 6, Code Enforcement of Chapter 2, Administration of the City Code by creating Section 2-347, Neighborhood Improvement Program, to establish a neighborhood improvement program to assist qualified residential homeowners that have been cited by code compliance in making repairs to their homes, providing for conflicts, severability, codification, and effective date.
Okay. Anyone from the public written in on this item?
No, sir.
Okay. Anyone in the chambers?
No, Mayor, there's not.
All right, I'll close it to the public. Commission?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Vice Mayor Parnas,
Second.
second by Commissioner Hudak. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, passes.
Mr. Mayor, if you can get a voice vote for me on that last one, or
Oh, there is a, that's
apologies.
right.
Yeah, there's arguably an expenditure component that will come with this.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry. Can we do roll call on number 25, please?
Commissioner Drosky,
Yes.
Commissioner Hudak,
Yes.
Commissioner Preston,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Parnas,
Yes.
and Mayor Gantz.
Yes.
Thank you. We're now at comments by administration and legal. I have no comments, so it's all you, Mr. Manager.
What about item 26? Did we skip that?
No, we're not there. We're not quite there yet.
Oh, okay. I apologize.
It's okay.
Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Just two comments for the commission tonight. One, just to make you aware that I was informed today that the city will receive a second round of CDBG CARES Fund, CARES Act money funding in the amount of approximately $580,000. So that money will be used for some of the, I'm sure will be used as we look at this, but we'll have to see exactly if there's any constraints, but I'm sure it'll be used for many of the similar programs that we used in the first round for assistance with our residents. So we'll probably be bringing that before you at a later date, but I just wanted to inform you of that. Additionally, as you know, last week, the governor announced that we would be entering, both Broward and Dade would be entering phase 2. And he announced that we were starting phase 2. But in all actuality, that just to make it clear to the commission and the public, Broward County has not changed any of the regulations at this point. I expect that they will in the coming weeks, but there is no definitive knowledge right now that they will be doing anything in particular one way or the other. So although the governor has placed Miami and Broward in phase 2, the county's orders that are in existence still prevail and have not changed at this point. That's all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're now at item 26, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, Florida, urging and requesting the United States Congress to continue to fund the federal portion of unemployment assistance programs, providing conflicts and for an effective date.
Commissioner Hudak, I think you brought this forward.
Yes, I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. It's unemployment, individuals who are on unemployment get $275 a week through the state of Florida. If you have a family of 4 and you get $275 a week, you don't even, you make too much money for food stamps. And to me, that's absurd. Individuals are hurting right now. And I think it's vitally important that the federal government step up to the plate and continue supplementing Florida's unemployment rate because families just cannot live on the $275 a week. And there are not a lot of opportunities out there. And so I think it's extremely important that we ask the federal government to please continue supplementing Florida's unemployment so that we can get the individuals the help that they need.
Thank you, Commissioner. Was there anyone from the public that wanted to comment on this item? go ahead and close it to the public then. Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second. I was waiting for you, Commissioner Huda. You just seconded me.
I'll let you guys.
Okay,
All right.
second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Okay. Comments by the mayor and commission. We'll start with District 1.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just two quick comments. First of all, I just wanted to thank Gabriella Gamperli, Suzanne Devine Clark, Shibani Winnell, Bryce Gaudis, and Sarah from the Kindness Rock Project for the kindness window at our CRA building. If you have not stopped by, I highly recommend that you do. You can be the eye in kindness and post selfies showing the world our beautiful city. Please remember that Monday, September 21st is International Day of Peace. And in the front of the windows, volunteers have created a kindness rock garden. And we ask all residents to participate. 19 years ago, this past Friday, September 11th, 2,977 innocent Americans were killed in a terrorist attack on the United States of America. 9/11 is the single deadliest terrorist attack in human history and the single deadliest incident for firefighters and law enforcement officers in the history of the United States, with 343 and 72 killed respectively. As many of you are aware, my father is a retired New York City firefighter. On September 11, 2001, 12 years after his retirement in 1989, he, along with many other retired first responders, donned their gear and followed their fellow responders in the recovery effort in the pit at the centers. Since 9/11, over 110 firefighters have reportedly died from their 9/11 exposure, and the deaths continue. Studies have shown that those exposures to World Trade Center dusts were more likely to develop lung problems, respiratory systems, sinus problems, or asthma. Please keep the families of those who lost loved ones on 9/11 and after in your thoughts. I remember how unified America was in the face of the attacks on our country by a known enemy in 2001. Today, our country is once again under attack, but this time it's not by a known enemy, but by an invisible virus and an internal moralistic divide. Before you were a Democrat or a Republican, you were an American. Healthy debate creates new and exciting ideas. Unhealthy debates create chaos, riots, and turmoil. When united, even with differences of opinion, we are the greatest nation in the world. When we are divided, America is no different than the great empires of the past who are no longer here. I ask our residents to continue to express their opinions in a peaceful manner, but to also respect those who have different opinions than you. United we stand and divided we fall. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hudak. Commissioner Preston?
When George Floyd died, it brought an awareness to our country. And there were so many people that said, you know, we must pray for the family, pray for the nation. And it was the right thing to do because what we all witnessed was not right. But you know what? There's also another side. 2 police officers was ambushed as they were doing their job. Somebody walked up and took aim and shot those police officers. We ought to be, all of us, equally as well disgusted by that as much as we were with the George Floyd incident. Because the intention there was to murder those police officers who do their job. And for people, you know, to actually make that situation worse by saying that they wish that those police officers died is completely 100% wrong. And it is right that if we're going to see injustice, then we must not be selective with seeing that. Injustice is injustice. And those guys sit there with that badge on to do their job, and they were ambushed. So we need to pray for their families and pray for their recovery as well, as much as, you know, we would do for any other situation. We were horrified at what happened to George Floyd. And if you're not horrified with this ambush of these police officers, then something's wrong with you. And we should keep that in our hearts as we depart tonight. Pray for their families and pray for their healthy return. At the last commission meeting, there was a statement that was made that the city manager was responsible for, you know, improving morale. I wasn't challenged with that statement until people began to ask me about it specifically. Like, what metrics did you use? I didn't know what to say, and I knew that we did not have it. Nothing had been shared with me. I think what I would like to see is a survey done to our administrative employees and our general employees, so we can actually know exactly where we are with rail, so we can give this information to our city manager so that he may be able to deal with it effectively and take that information and find out exactly where we are and do whatever it is that he needs to do. But I would like that survey to be without names, so there would be no risk of retaliation or somebody, you know, skewing things simply because they knew who it was. So I'd like to see a survey to find out exactly where we are on employee morale. And that's it for me, Mayor.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that, Commissioner Preston. Excellent job. Vice Mayor Parnas.
Thank you. Gentlemen, I'm going to be going around the room asking for your support on an item after I present it. There's a lot more traffic now on Military Trail. Century Village needs a right turn lane going into their property on Military Trail. They are willing to pay for it where it will not cost the city a single dime. They're presenting it to the city. Drawings have been done, etc. The state has to approve it. I'm going to go around the room. We need to send a letter from the city approving the project. So I'm going to ask each one of you if you will support me in sending this letter from the city to the state FDOT approving the project of a right turn lane on Military Trail, which again is at not a single dime of cost to the city.
Count me in, Vice Mayor.
Thank you. District 1.
Got it, sir.
Mr. Drotsky.
I want to say yes, but I don't know enough about it.
What is there to know? A right turn lane on Military Trail and the east gate of Century Village.
Whose property is it?
It's their property and the city's. In other words, the road that they're going to ride on is a part of the city. They're going to cut into their own property to make room for the extra lane, and they're paying for it.
And what do our traffic folks and city manager have to say about this? I mean, I want to get all sides before I commit to something.
I have not heard a single complaint from anybody in the city when the plans have been submitted or the drawings have been submitted.
I'm going to pause you guys for one moment just because I see the city manager's got his hand up. He might be able to help with that, with this. Mr. Santucci.
Thank you. To answer your questions, Commissioner, yes, the FDOT will do this work, and I believe it's the village that will be paying for it. Is that correct, Vice Mayor?
That's correct. The village is paying for the whole project.
Yeah, so it's an FDOT right of way, and they just want to see a letter of support from the city, which is the jurisdiction of which it's in, because it is, private property. Staff is in favor of the right turn lane. We believe it will alleviate some traffic congestion there at Military and 10th Street, which we know backs up quite a bit.
Yeah, thank you for the clarification. I'm in, Vice Mayor.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, you have it.
thank you. I know the staff will prepare the letter and I will be happy to sign it unless you would like to sign it, Mr. Mayor.
No, it's your district. We'll let you do the honors.
Thank you very much. That's all I have. Oh, one other thing for you gentlemen who don't follow COVID in the city, today we hit 2,050. I keep track every day. That's just about 1 in every 40 people that live in our city has contracted the disease. I will say this, it was going up at a higher rate a few weeks ago. It has slowed down to maybe 20, 30 a day, where it was in the past 50 and 70 a day, which is good news, but it's still too many. So please, if you see somebody, tell them to wear their masks. Please, it'll save their life and those of their neighbors. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Drosky?
Thank you, Mayor. As we're sitting here tonight, my thoughts and prayers go out to our friends in coastal Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Florida. Since we've been sitting here tonight, Hurricane Sally has increased to a Category 2 storm with over 100-mile-an-hour winds. The impacted areas are expected between 6 to 11 feet of storm surge and 10 to 20 inches of rain. And the storm basically doesn't move very much from Tuesday to Friday. So there are going to be huge impacts on the Gulf Coast of our country. And just my thoughts and prayers go out to them, because one day, hopefully not soon, but one day this will be us. And so we'll need their thoughts and prayers as well. Before the next meeting on October 3rd is my next Saturday office hours here at City Hall. You can contact me directly or the city manager's office, and we'd be happy to set up an appointment. I have a weekly newsletter. Every week I send out some information pertinent to my district. Last week I was happy to announce, and I'm going to announce it at the meeting tonight, that Florida Atlantic University is conducting a study of the Powerline Road and Hillsborough Boulevard intersection. This is at no cost to the city of Deerfield Beach. It's basically free planning for us. The FAU Urban and Regional Planning Master's Program is preparing a study related to the northwest area of Deerfield Beach, specifically the area surrounding Hillsborough Boulevard and Powerline Road. The study will comprise resident and business owner comments related to traffic, commercial uses, housing need, parks, and infrastructure. Florida Atlantic University is looking for residents, business owners, and other stakeholders in this area to attend a web-based town hall forum on Monday, October 5th at 7 p.m. to garner feedback. You can contact the city at web.planning@dfbcity.com to register for this town hall. As you know, the Four Corners area, as we like to refer to that intersection out west, they're looking to what can be the highest and best uses for all four of those different corners. What could use a makeover? What are the traffic issues? What would the residents like to see? This is an opportunity for not only the residents and the businesses to have their voices heard, but also for us to get some solid feedback. And this is all provided free by the Florida Atlantic University. So if you're not only just a District 4 resident, but any resident that travels that corridor, I would anticipate and encourage you to please attend that town hall on October 5th at 7 o'clock. I want to follow up and thank Mr. Hudak, Commissioner Hudak rather, for his comments regarding the International Day of Peace scheduled for September 21st. I think our department is trying to set something up, for the commissioners to partake on that day. I think Mr. Hunt and his team may be out there trying to do a video with all of us putting a rock out there if possible. So I know more details are yet to come, but if all my colleagues can participate or find time on September 21st, that would be great. I need to talk faster because I'm losing my battery. Phase 2 is there's a lot of questions out there, especially from our business owners. They are very confused what phase 2 means for Broward County, because essentially phase 2 means nothing for Broward County. And so it's going to require more cooperation and coordination with the county. So this is the very rare opportunity I get to speak to all of you individually, but I specifically would like to talk to the mayor because we have businesses in District 4 that are asking for further clarification from the county as to what will and will not be encompassed under phase 2. And in particular, we have buffet restaurants in District 4 that are asking how their restaurant model fits under phase 2, if it does at all. And we have businesses that are willing to give written plans to the county, how they will operate with COVID, under COVID, and be able to operate safely I have someone offering me a charger. Thank you. As to what the businesses will be able to operate going forward. So Mayor, I know you have your mayor's meetings, not only with the other mayors in Broward County, but with Broward County Commissioner, Broward County Mayor Holness. If you could please bring that up and let them know that not only are the restaurants asking what phase 2 will look like, but in particular, buffet restaurants, and I'm sure we'll be getting more inquiries from different businesses. But a couple have reached out to me and they specifically would like to know what to expect going forward. The last thing that I have for this evening is the next battle, if you will, and I wouldn't call it a battle because we've really created good partnership with Broward County. Broward County basically could have told us, to go pack sand with respect to the CARES dollars. They didn't have to share any of their $340 million with the cities, but they chose to, and they chose to share 30%. And I think that was a good step forward for the cities working cooperatively with the county. There has not always been a love relationship, between Broward County and its cities. And I think that was a good step, going forward. However, there is another issue on the horizon. The county has decided to place on this November's ballot a charter amendment, which would allow them to basically exempt themselves from surtax dollar projects and how the monies are and how those projects are developed. So what I mean more specifically is that and this is on county-owned land, so county-owned land in our city, the county would be able to exempt itself from our land development regulations. So any developer that comes in are subject to our code, but the county wants to exempt itself. And again, this is a grab from home rule. The county always likes to complain when the state takes its home rule away. Well, that's exactly what's happening here. The county is taking the city's home rule away by our Commissioner Parnas, you okay?
Yes. I just dropped my iPad. I'm fine. Like you, my battery was running low and they plugged it in.
So we need to work cooperatively with the county. I don't think this is a charter amendment that we can support. I voted home rule, every step of the way. I think when the city attorney told me I had to vote something with respect to this, what was it, the small cell tower requirements, I voted against it. I'm taking a stand with respect to home rule, and this is another one here. I know the Broward League of Cities is positioning itself to do an informational campaign. I think we need to participate with them and get the word out that this is just another grab from home rule, and we'd like to work with the county on it. But I think the way that the ballot question reads, it's very vanilla and very, you wouldn't really understand what it's about until you kind of dive underneath it. And so I think that's what we need to do. We need to educate our residents what they're truly being asked to approve, which is a grab on our home, rule. So with With that, I'm done, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner. And I do agree with you 100% on that home rule grab. We've worked too hard in the city of Deerfield Beach to put things in place to make sure that the residents are notified. The setbacks, the notifications, all of those procedures we have in place are meant to protect our residents. I understand why the county is doing what they did because of the unfortunate things that had to do with a tower that dealt with 911 communication. But the way they're going about it is the wrong way to go about it. So I completely support you on that. And let's hope that the county and the general public out there will see it that way as well. I will say this, I want to thank all of you and staff, and we touched on it briefly, about passing this budget. These are unprecedented times, and to be able to get through what we've gotten through so far, and it's not over. To get through what we've gotten through already, and to be able to deliver a budget that allows us to keep the status quo when it comes to our tax bill is, to me, a huge accomplishment. And I am very, very proud of staff, our employees who took them a little while, some of them, to recognize the situation that we're in, and that this was going to be a tough year. But the sacrifices that were made are greatly appreciated. You know, one of the things about having longevity sitting up here, you get to see some of the decisions that you made in the past come to fruition. You know, I've sat there and listened to ridiculous statements by people who, and including someone who sat in this chair as the mayor, talk about bringing our reserves down to completely ridiculous levels simply to save a few dollars. On a year-long tax bill really meant nothing to our residents. I mean, to bring our reserves down to some of the numbers that people talked about, can you imagine going through this pandemic when we had $7-8 million in our reserves? Would anyone feel comfortable with that? Of course not. These same people, then they wonder why they're sitting at home and failed in their candidacies, is because that's the kind of decisions they were bullying us and trying to get us to go along with. And we see if we had taken that action back then, where we would be. We would not have the ability to reach in to our rainy day account, and it is pouring outside, to be able to sustain us through this hard time. Now, there are people that will say, well, my taxes went up. Well, your taxes, if they went up, it's because your property values went up. And that's a good thing. But we should keep an ear to that when people start complaining about having to pay. And you know, to see someone say these taxes are outrageous because your bill's gone up $32 or something along those lines for an entire year, you know, like, even at the strictest budgets, household budgets, I have a hard time believing that impact it would actually have. But you know, our property values, we're so far behind the rest of the county when it comes to our valuations on our homes that play into what our tax rate is, that you know, I'm glad we're moving in that direction. It's a good thing for the city of Deerfield Beach overall. I will also say this, and I know the chief is working on it. I know he's heard us, but I got a nice reminder tonight as I was driving here, watching two motorcycles fly down Hillsborough heading west, one of them doing a wheelie the whole way. It wasn't that long ago we sat here and we talked about several deaths in West Deerfield Beach on Hillsborough Boulevard. And I have a picture of the young lady who was killed right outside Deer Creek not that long ago, as a reminder to always bring this up. But the complaints that we've gotten and the traffic that we have seen, and a lot of it is because everybody's working from home, the traffic on the street is a little bit lighter than what it's been. But the traffic that is on the street is out of control. You can hear it from our homes as it flies down Hillsborough as if it's a speedway. And it's Powerline Road and it's Hillsborough. It's motorcycles, it's cars, and they're out of control. And something bad is going to happen unless we get a handle on it. I know the chief's working on it. I have the utmost respect for him, and I have faith that he and his staff are going to do something about it. But it needs to happen, and it needs to happen fast, because it's a very dangerous situation. And I don't want to have another person's picture in my office as a reminder that they lost their life because people were being out of control on the streets of our city. So with that, I want to thank all of you for everything you did tonight and the patience you've had, and looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second? Anyone?
Second,
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
yes, aye.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Night.